ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णा चैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। नमः ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे। शील प्रभुपाद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। सर्वशास्त्रादि पीयूष सर्ववैदिक सकल सर्वसिद्धांत रत्नाद्य सर्वलोकैक दृक्प्रद सर्वभागवत प्राण श्रीमद्भागवतो प्रभु कलिद्वंतोतिदादित्य श्री कृष्ण परिवर्तिता परमानंद पाथाय प्रेम वर्ष अक्षराय ते सर्वदा सर्वसेवाय श्री कृष्णाय नमोस्तुते। मद एक बंधु मद संगीन मद गुरु मद महादन मद निस्तारक मद भाग्य मद आनंद नमोस्तुते। असाधु साधु तादा इन अति नीचो ताकर हा ना मुंचा कदाचिन मां प्रेम न रित कंथयो स्पुरः। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायण नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। श्रीमतां स्वकथा कृष्णा पुण्य श्रवण कीर्तनम हृदयन्तस्य भद्राणि विधुनोति सुरसता नष्ट प्रायशो भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। हरे कृष्ण। Okay, so let's start. We are in second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 7, scheduled incarnations. So you can have the Bhagavatam book with you to follow along. So we have been discussing in this chapter about the different Leela avatars or different incarnations of the Lord. Is my voice clear? Yeah, okay. Different incarnations of the Lord, and we are reading Brahma Narada Samvad, the conversation between Lord Brahma and Narad Muni. And Narad Muni has actually asked different questions to Brahmaji, and he actually starts off by saying, "Oh Brahma, I see that you are actually the person who's actually doing the entire creation. You are the one who actually, like a spider spreads his web and then withdraws it. Similarly, you're doing the whole task of creation and then you're winding it up. I feel like you are the supreme. But there is a doubt, but you meditate on someone. So is there someone above you? In that mode, Narad Muni starts the entire conversation and then he asks different questions. And then we have been reading that. So that's chapter 4, 5, 6, and 7 of this canto. And up to the previous chapter, chapter 6, Brahma has just answered the questions of Narad Muni. But then at the end of the last chapter, he just says, from his own heart, he was inspired to speak about the different incarnation of the Lord. It wasn't a question that Narad Muni specifically asked that please talk about different Leela avatar. Just Brahma, out of his own inspiration, he said, okay, I'm going to tell you a list of all the incarnations, right? And not all the incarnations, that's impossible for anyone to say, but all the prominent incarnations. So in that way, this chapter actually, we read about almost 39 different not 39 verses. The first 39 verses talk about the different incarnations, and we read about what Matsya, Hayagriva, Kurma, Narsimha, Vamanadev, and then Krishna Leela. There's a basically kind of giving a trailer to the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, where the pastimes which are there in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, we will see are just like touched upon by Brahma. And he actually starts off from like, Krishna's appearance, killing Putana, and then he goes all the way and then he talks about Ras Leela, and just mentions all these different, and then he talks about Mathura and Dwarka pastimes, and then he talks about so many different incarnations. And then after that, in text 40, so we covered up to text 46 last time. So after that section, the next section is actually Brahma is saying that actually it is impossible to understand the greatness of the Lord without his mercy. And then he makes a point that even Ananta Shesh, with his thousands of mouths, is actually continuously glorifying the Lord, but he is not coming to the end of it. So what is the possibility for we limited conditioned jivas to know about the glories of the Lord? And then he also says that even if someone is able to count the number of atoms in this entire universe, which is actually impossible, even for that person, it is not possible to know the glories of the Lord. Then if Brahma is making this, then the hearer may think that, okay, then is it so no one can know the glories of the Lord? There are so many that is it impossible to know? Then Brahma says, no. It is possible for those who actually receive the special mercy of the Lord. When the Lord himself comes to the Jiva and say, oh Jiva, you can know me. And then the jiva becomes qualified to know. So the Lord has to reveal himself to a jiva, and that's the only way the jiva can know the Lord to the extent of his devotion. And we talked about this principle of reciprocation. To the extent we give our heart to Krishna, to that extent Krishna reveals himself to us. Right? So in that way, Brahma has actually made this point. And then he talks about, so what is the qualification for one to actually know the Lord? Right? When will the Lord actually show his special mercy upon me? Anyone remembers there are 3 Sanskrit words that Brahma has used?
Surrender.
Okay, surrender. Okay, you can say the English and refer to the Sanskrit. Okay, what else? So the 3 points that it's actually in verse number 42. Right? So he talks about 3 points. One is Ashrita Padaha. Ashrita Padaha means surrender. A surrendered soul, that's the first qualification. Second is Nirvyalikam. Right? Nirvyalikam is one who's actually engaged in devotion without any kind of pretension or without any material motives or without any, like how we say, Anya Bhilasita Sunya, without any desires other than desire to please Krishna. Right? So it has to be pure devotion. So that's the second. And the third one, he used the word Sarvatmana. Sarvatmana means one who is actually engaging devotion with indifference to karma and jnana. And when you read this verse, what is the verse of Rupa Goswami that comes to our mind? Anyabhilasita sunyam jnana karmadi anavritam. Exactly, Brahma is actually making the same point. He's using the word sarvatmana to actually make the point that the devotion has to be free from, it should not be covered by karma or jnana. It should be pure devotion, right? Anyabhilasita sunyam jnana karmadi anavritam anukulena krishnana shilana. It should be just to give pleasure to Krishna, only for the pleasure of Krishna, right? And that is Uttama Bhakti. So Brahma is actually making a point that those who are engaged in Uttama Bhakti, to those people, Krishna comes and says, oh, you, I will reveal myself to you. And that is the only way we can actually know Krishna. Now, one may say that, that this stage of pure devotion, it is very difficult. What is the hope for me? to actually come to the stage of pure devotion. I have so many material desires. I have so many anarthas I keep struggling with. What hope do I have to actually receive that mercy of the Lord? Then Brahma says, no, actually there are many personalities, and he gives a whole list. And he talks about, like, he says, I myself, you Narada, Lord Shiva, Swayambhu, Manu, Ambarish, Bhishma, Uddha, Prahlad, Dhruva, Vidura, Arjun, many others have been successful in attracting the mercy of the Lord. So Brahma is giving us hope. It is possible for us. It is possible for us to actually get that special mercy of the Lord. Now, even if at this stage someone may say that, you're talking about Brahma, you're talking about Shiva, you're talking about Uddhava, you're talking about Arjun, they're all so elevated. What hope do I have? I'm just a simple conditioned jiva, insignificant conditioned jiva. What hope do I have? And then Brahma is actually giving another secret, which is actually a secret of success in our bhakti, is the last verse, the 46 that we discussed, that even if, and then he lists, he says, like, if people are unqualified or sinful, even they can actually cross over the material ocean and know the Lord. If what he actually makes the point, you have to do two things, right? So he says, Adbhuta Krama Parayana. Who is the one who does Adbhuta Karma? That is Lord Shri Krishna, right? He's also known as Urukrama. Urukrama means who does amazing, extraordinary activities, right? So here it is used Adbhuta Karma. He does extraordinary activities. Adbhuta Karma Parayana. Parayana refers to a devotee of the Lord, right? So, okay, so here Brahma is saying, okay, even if you consider you're not as qualified as all these personalities, what hope you have? Are you losing hope? Then here Brahma is actually saying that even you can do it if you do what? Adbhuta Krama Parayana. You actually do two things in terms of the devotees of the Lord. One is Shila. Shila means you learn the behavior and the qualities of the devotees of the Lord. You learn the behavior and qualities of the devotees of the Lord. And second is Shiksha. You get trained by these devotees of the Lord. Because one may say that, Lord Sri Krishna, he's so far. What hope do I have to actually approach him, to surrender unto him? He talked about surrender, right? How can I surrender, Lord? Lord is so far. But Brahma is saying, no. They are devotees of the Lord. They are present. You actually find those devotees, and then you actually learn about those devotees, like how we have Srila Prabhupada Lilamrit. When we learn about the qualities, then we have Srila Prabhupada memories. We learn about the glories of Srila Prabhupada. That is the way Brahma is actually recommending. And second is you get trained by the devotees of the Lord. And by these two things, then we can also cross over the ocean of mercy. So this is our secret, right? Only by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and all the devotees of the Lord can we actually cross over this ocean of material ocean and also become one of the candidates to whom Krishna will come and say, I will reveal myself to you because you have served my devotee. So in that way, Brahma completes. Okay, so we'll be starting from text 47. But any comments or questions up to this point, or any realizations anyone would like to share? Okay, up to this point, everyone. Okay, so let's continue. So we are in the last part of this chapter. So we'll be discussing text 47. And this text 47 is a little bit like a little technical. It's one of those verses a little hard to follow along. And please, so if you have your notes, you can write along, and I'll try my best to explain. So let's start with text number 47. So go ahead. Sanskrit.
Shashvat prashantam abhayam pratibodhamatram shuddham samam sad asata paramatma tattvam shabdo nayatra purukarakavan kriyarto maya paraita bhimuke chavilajamana tadvai padam bhagavata paramasya pumso brahmeti yadvidur ajasra sukam vishokam.
Okay, so we have a list on the chat. So according to that, you can read.
Hare Krishna. Translation: what is realized as the absolute Brahman is full of unlimited bliss without grief. That is certainly the ultimate phase of the Supreme Enjoyer, the personality of Godhead. He is eternally void of all disturbances and fearless. He is complete consciousness as opposed to matter, uncontaminated and without distinctions. He is the principal primeval cause of all causes and effects, in whom there is no sacrifice for fruitive activities, and in whom the illusory energy does not stand. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Okay, so if you see the Sanskrit, so we are going to do. So what is Brahma actually doing now? So from the previous chapter 2645 to 2742, basically, or 41, he's basically talked about the unlimited glories of the Lord. From 2645 previous chapter up to 2741, he's talked of the unlimited qualities of the Bhagavan, and then from 2742 to 2746. Right, so the last 4 verses, he's actually talked about who are the worshippers of Bhagwan. Now, what are the other aspects of Bhagwan? Right, so vadanti tat tatavidas tatvam yajnanam avyaya brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabdayate. So the 3 aspects of understanding the absolute are the realization of the Brahman, the Paramatma, and the Bhagavan. The realization of Bhagwan being the highest level of understanding of the absolute. So now in this section, in the next 3 verses, Brahma is actually establishing that how understanding of the Bhagavan feature, what he has described, understanding of the different Leela avatars, their activities, their qualities, is actually the highest realization of the Supreme. Right? Brahman realization and Paramatma realization is already included in the realization of the Absolute. So 3 verses, Brahma is speaking. So now just look at the Sanskrit of this. So the first line is actually talking about the Paramatma feature. Okay, so if you see the words, first one is what? Shashwat. Shashwat means eternal. Okay, Shashwat means eternal. And Shantam, Prashantam, actually Prashantam. The Shantam is actually peaceful. So Paramatma is actually said to be eternally peaceful. And why is Paramatma said to be eternally peaceful? That even though Paramatma is in the heart of every living entity, and the living entity goes through so many tribulations, goes through all the miseries of this material existence, but still the Paramatma is eternally Shashwat. He is not disturbed. He is eternally peaceful. Right? So that's the first qualification of Paramatma given. Then second one is actually he is fearless. Why is Paramatma called fearless? Because even though he's presiding over the jiva who is always fearful, right? Bhayam dvitiya abhinesha tasva. The condition of living entities in this material world is they're always fearful, right? Out of eating, sleeping, mating, and fearing. Fearing is the one that is always 24/7. We are fearful, right? But the Paramatma who's presiding over the jiva, he is actually fearless, right? So the second quality is that of abhayam. Abhayam. So one is Shashwat Prashantam. Second one is Abhayam. He is fearless. Right? Then third one is Pratibodha Matram. So Prabhupada also elaborates on this point. Pratibodha Matram means the one who actually bestows knowledge upon the jiva. Right? So which is the verse in Bhagavad Gita where we know that Krishna bestows knowledge upon the jiva?
Sarvasvachaham Pradisannivasta
Very nice.
Mattasmatirgnanamohanam cha.
Sarvasya.
Vedesya.
Go ahead. Yeah.
No, sorry. Done, Prabhu.
Thank you. Thank you. Very nice. So 15:15 of the Gita, right? Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishta. He's seated in the heart of every living entity, right? Mata smitir jnanam apohanam cha. It is that Paramatma who actually gives jnanam to every jiva, right? So that pratibodha matram means one who actually bestows knowledge upon the jiva. Okay, and also this bestowing, this aspect of bestowing knowledge is actually considered as, so we have the 3 modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. Who controls the mode of goodness? Vishnu, right? Vishnu is the one who controls the mode of goodness, and that's the Paramatma in the heart. So a feature of the mode of goodness, which is actually described in the 14th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, is what? One who is actually situated in the mode of goodness, then all his senses are illuminated with knowledge, right? So because here, so Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is actually relating that because Vishnu, he is actually controller of mode of goodness, and mode of goodness means to bestow knowledge. Hence, the Pratibodha Matram also refers to that aspect of, shows the aspect of Vishnu who is actually controller of the mode of goodness. Is that point okay? Pratibodha Matram. Okay. Then the next quality is Shuddham. Shuddham, we know, he's pure, right? So even though he's here in the heart of every jiva who's full with all so many material desires, does the Paramatma ever get conditioned by the desires of the jiva? No, never. He knows all the desires of the jiva, more than even the jiva, but does he get contaminated ever? No, no. He's always pure, right? So that's the Paramatma, pure. So Shuddham, right? And then it is Samam. Samam means what? He's equal to all, right? Is the Paramatma in the heart of a dog and the Paramatma in the heart of a human being, or Paramatma in the heart of a fish? What is the role of Paramatma as given in 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita? Who can say the two words?
Witness and
Yes, okay. Tell the English. Witness and?
permitter, like he gives permission,
Okay.
allows.
Yes. Okay, yeah. So one is a,
Hanumanta Upadrashta.
yes, very nice, Mataji. Yeah. Upadrishta and Anumanta, right? Upadrishta, Anumanta, that he is the overseer and he is the one who is actually overseer or witness, the same thing. And then he is the one who actually gives permission. Like he actually says, okay, Jiva, this is your desire. And he actually makes the three modes of material nature act upon the Jiva in such a way that he's actually trying to fulfill that desire, right? So, Samam means he is impartially disposed to all living entities. Whatever is a jiva, whether there's a dog, there's a fish, there's a cat, there's a human being, how the jiva acts, he acts through the three modes of material nature based upon the desires of the jiva. So in that way, Paramatma is actually impartial to everyone. Okay, so how many qualities of Paramatma we have? Shashwat Prasantam, Abhayam, Pratibodha Matram, Shuddham, Samam. 5 qualities of Paramatma. Is that okay? Up to this point, everyone? Good? Okay. So that is Paramatma. Now, having described Paramatma, he's going to talk about Brahman. Okay, so it's not in the order of Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan, but he's talked of Paramatma first. Now he's going to talk about Brahman. So, oh, and there's one more quality. Sorry, I forgot one more. There's Sad Asata. Sad Asata, and then it says Paramatma Tattva. Right? So, okay. The Sad Asata, Prabhupada actually explains as the cause and effect. So anything in this material world, it is happening. Why? Because of the desires of the jiva. But who is actually making the jiva act in such a way? So the cause of the jiva actually here in this material world, and the effect, the action, is all actually controlled by the Paramatma. Like how we say Krishna is the cause of all causes. So here in this material world, Paramatma is a manifestation of Krishna, and he's actually one way, the cause and effect in this material world. So that is a 6th quality of the Paramatma. And he says Sat, Asat, and then Paramatma Tattva. Right? So this is the Tattva of Paramatma. Okay, so 6 qualities. Now let's see how Brahman is actually explained. Now the rest of the verse, if you're going to follow Sanskrit wise, it's a little bit like, if you see like where is the aspect of Brahman and where is the aspect of Bhagavan in this, it is kind of, together in one sense, and that is a purpose behind that, why they are actually kind of explained together. Because the main point that Brahma is actually saying is that the Brahman cannot be explained without its relationship to Bhagavan. Right? Because Brahman is what? is just the one way you can say it is the undifferentiated light from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Or one way we say Brahman as without qualities, you know. So if something is without qualities, how can you actually explain that? You know? So hence the point is actually Brahma is making the point here is that Brahman is always explained in relationship to Bhagavan. Okay, so that's so now with that we'll see the rest of the verse where it actually says Shabdaha here proper translates as speculative sound. No, okay, so not speculative sound. Puru Kara Kavan, resulting in fruitive activities, right? Or Kriya Artha. So it is not by fruitive activities, not by sacrifice, not by speculative sound can one actually understand Brahman, right? Or Bhagavan. Right? So it's neither of these three, not by speculation, mental speculation, not by performing fruitive activities, not by sacrifice, can one actually understand Bhagwan. So those are the that line, the next line, right? Shabdo na yatra puru kara kavan kriyartha. Right? And then after they said Maya parai ete abhimukhe cha vilajamana, that Maya is ashamed to stand in front of the Lord. Where have we read this before?
In Vyasdev's
Yes. In the first canto, 7th chapter, when Vyasadeva is actually meditating, then he sees the Lord and he sees all the energies, incarnation of the Lord. But where is Maya standing? Maya is standing behind. She's ashamed. So that word vilajamana means being ashamed of, right? That means Maya does not actually can stand in front of Krishna. And why is that? Why cannot Maya stand in front of Krishna? Why is she always ashamed of Krishna?
Because he's putting the jivas in illusion.
Because she is putting the jiva in illusion. Okay. So Krishna wants all of us back home, back to Godhead. But Maya is doing the thankless task of actually testing us and preparing us and putting here in this world of illusion. But she has a purpose. So finally we get purified and go back home, back to Godhead. But that act of like putting jiva in that covering potency and putting the jivas in illusion, she's ashamed of that task, though she is a pure devotee of Krishna. And hence she is always vilajamana. So wherever Krishna is, there is no chance of Maya. Krishna Surya Sama, Maya hai andhakar. Jahan Krishna, tahan nahi Maya adhikar. Right? Krishna is like the sun. Maya is like darkness. Where there's Krishna, there is no chance of Maya. Right? So hence Maya is standing. So the next line it says, Maya parita abhimukhe cha vilajamana. Vilajamana means she's ashamed. So she does not stand in front of the Supreme Personality of God. Right? Tadvai padam bhagavata paramasya pumso. So he's saying, now Brahma is saying Bhagavata. Bhagavata referring to what? The Bhagwan feature of the Lord. Right? Bhagwan feature. Right? So, okay, Bhagwan feature of the Lord. And Brahmeti yad vidur ajasra sukham vishokam. So now, if you see the Brahma, the last line, that Brahma actually refers to the Brahman. Okay, Brahman. And he says, what are the qualities of Brahman? It says, Ajasra, unlimited, Sukham, happiness, Vishokam, without grief. Right? So where is the verse in Bhagavad Gita which talks about this?
Brahmabhuta Prasanatma.
Was it?
Brahmabhuta Prasanatma.
Yes, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na sochati na kankshati. So what is that Brahman realization? Prasannatma. Prasannatma here the word is Sukham, happiness. Na sochati na kankshati means there is no Vishoka, the last word of this verse, no grief at the Brahman stage, right? And a Brahman is unlimited. So three qualities of Brahman, right? Now, okay, so that is three qualities, and also that aspect of speculative sound, fruitive activities, and sacrifice can be applied also to Brahman. One cannot understand Brahman by either of these three aspects also. Okay, so that could be the fourth point of Brahman. Okay, So let's see. So that is basically this one. So Brahma has talked about Paramatma first, then Brahman and Bhagavan. It's kind of a little bit mixed. That the three aspects of like how one cannot understand Brahman is there, and towards the end of the verse, that is this aspects of unlimited happiness and without grief. Now, this point is very wonderful that Brahman is always described in relationship to Bhagavan. Like we say, that Brahman is one of the aspects of realization of Bhagavan. Right? So it is always Brahman in relationship to Bhagavan. Then we can say it is the first stage of realization of God, absolute. Again, we are talking in relationship to Bhagavan, or we may say it is a formless aspect of Bhagavan. Everywhere we describe Brahman, we are actually describing it in relationship to Bhagavan. Right? So think about those who actually say that Brahman is the ultimate. How are they even describing Brahman? So that's why those who are actually, Mayavadis or impersonalists, actually, let's take the Mayavadis. Those who are Mayavadis, what do they do? Because Brahman cannot be actually defined in words and qualities, they actually say, we will worship the form of the Lord. Because that is, how can, if Brahman is there, what will you focus on? Right? So they'll say, we'll worship the form of the Lord. But when we keep worshipping, then we can go beyond the form of the Lord. So I was once on book distribution. I think I told this before also. I met this man and I gave him the Bhagavad Gita, and then he looked at the Gita, Indian man. He went through, like just quickly scrolling through. He says, very good. What you're doing is very good. And then slowly, when you progress, you will come beyond all this and realize that it is all Brahman. And then it was so interesting. And I was trying to explain him things. And then after that, his daughter was playing there, this small girl. And said like, oh, just, I was developing connection and inviting him temple and things. And said, what's the name of your daughter? Vaishnavi. Like he himself is like a Mayavadi and the daughter's name is Vaishnavi. But anyway, so, because they cannot focus on any aspect of Brahman because there's no qualities as such, they actually use the form of the Lord and say, we'll focus on the form of the Lord. But our aim is to go beyond that. And that is Mayavadi Krishna Aparadhi. To actually say the form of the Lord in the temple, Sham Sundar, Golokananda, that is just temporary. We are using that form to go beyond. That is insulting. That's why it says Mayavadi Krishna Aparadhi. That's an offense to Krishna. To say that form of Krishna is actually Maya. Right? So hence that point that Brahman is always explained in relationship to Bhagavan. Okay. Now, another point that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and Prabhupada also explains this point in the purport, is that when we talk of Bhagavan, right, what do we say is the complexion of Bhagavan? What is the color of his dhoti?
Lightning yellow.
Lightning yellow, okay. And then what is the complexion of Krishna?
Fresh rain cloud.
Okay.
Meghashama.
What do you say? I had two words.
Meghashama. Shama.
Very nice. Ghanashama. So now what are we doing? So in the Shastras, to understand the glorious feature of the Lord, they are using material examples. Isn't lightning a material example? Right? And then a dark rain cloud. Right? Isn't that a material example? But if you're using material sound, how can material sound, which is a product of material ether, explain that which is completely spiritual? It cannot actually. Right? It cannot. But because our understanding is only limited to this material sphere, hence Vedas use these examples. But is that really meditating on the Lord? Yes or no?
Yes, still we are meditating on the Lord. That is the closest we can get with our material senses, I think.
Okay, that is the closest we can get. That point is good. But is that really like rain cloud? Is that something to do with Krishna's color? It is material, but Krishna's color is beyond that. We cannot even imagine. So the point that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur actually says that yes, these examples are there, and they actually help us meditate on the form of the Lord. And we meditate using these examples because that is what we know. But the point is, Vishwanath Thakur is saying, but that is just the abhas of the Lord that we are meditating on. It's not the real. We don't know what is the form of the Lord until the Lord actually reveals his form. Like how Narad Muni in the first canto we saw. Then he had a glimpse, darshan of the Lord. Then once you see the Lord, then you know, oh, that is the form of the Lord. So unless the Lord reveals himself, we are meditating, to our limited experience. But the Lord is bound with so much causeless mercy that when a jiva, even though he's using material examples to meditate on the Lord is so merciful and he says, oh, this jiva is meditating upon me. And the Lord says, okay, even though he's using material examples, because he's meditating on me, I will reveal myself to him. So though from our side, we are up to this material example, but Krishna sees, he's so merciful, he sees he's meditating on me, and then he reveals and gives us that spiritual understanding of his form. Is that point clear? It's a very nice point about the merciful nature and how we meditate and how it is only due to Krishna's mercy that we can really understand the glories of Krishna. Okay?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji.
So, yes, Krishna is so merciful and he is helping us. But you said at the same time it's Krishna Bas too.
Abhas, yeah. Abhas. What is, when we, Abhas means it's a semblance of Krishna. It's not directly Krishna. If you say, okay, I'm meditating on Krishna, you do smaranam, you're meditating and you're thinking of Krishna's dhoti, that he's actually Pitambar Vrasta, he's actually wearing this yellow complexion. That's in our meditation, right? But is that really the color of Krishna?
No.
That's the closest material color to the real form of Krishna, right?
Right.
So hence, it is meditation on the semblance of Krishna, not the original Krishna. But Krishna is so kind.
Right.
Krishna is so kind that he said, okay, he's meditating with this, I will reveal myself to that person.
Okay.
So people become joyful, meditating, thinking that, yes, we are meditating on the form of the Lord. But actually, they are just meditating on the semblance of the Lord. Right? But the Lord, out of his unprecedented mercy, he thinks, no, this devotee, he is doing his best to meditate on me. Hence, I will reveal myself to that person. So in no way this point is actually minimizing the importance of smaranam or meditation. We should. That's why the Shastra is using these examples. Otherwise, how will we meditate? But we should understand that our meditation cannot reach Krishna. It's only Krishna has to be pleased and he has to reveal himself to us. Okay? Any other questions on this point? It's clear?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Prabhuji, like when a devotee meditates on, let's say, as Ganashama, he will reveal as Ganashama or he will reveal as his original color, Prabhuji?
He will reveal what he really is.
Yeah.
What he really is, he will reveal himself to us. So,
Thank you, Prabhuji.
We are using examples to meditate on the Lord. The Lord, when he's really pleased with us, he reveals himself. Okay. Let's see what else. Prabhupada in the purport. I think I covered most of the points. Okay, so one point that Prabhupada just mentioned. So if you read the purport, Prabhupada talks of the impersonal Brahman realization as the first step in the realization of the absolute. And then Prabhupada talks about the pratibodha matram. That is basically, he says prati. Prati means actually opposite. Right? Opposite of what? Opposite of material existence. So knowledge which is revealed by the Paramatma, that is opposite of material existence. That is spiritual knowledge. That's that. And then Prabhupada also talks about that it is only when one goes above the Brahman and comes to Paramatma feature, that's when there is actually an affection. The conception of affection is there. Up to Brahman, there is such no relationship. But that aspect of affection comes when there's a connection between soul and super soul. That is the aspect of affection, that bonding is there, right? That nearness. Prabhupada says, just like a father and son have the nearness, we feel that realness. Yes, Krishna is in my heart. He's there, right here in my heart. That closeness is there, right? That nearness. So Prabhupada talks about the feeling of affection, right? And then, okay. And Prabhupada also makes this point that as soon as you talk of Paramatma, that is this affection, and then beyond that, Bhagavan, that is a direct relationship. Now, when you talk of happiness in that relationship, how is the happiness experienced? Through our transcendental senses. So it's not that once we actually elevate ourselves, we lose our senses. Our senses is just getting purified, right? So the senses are already there with us, the spiritual senses, but as we progress, then our transcendental senses, by which our relationship with Krishna can be relished, is actually revealed to us. So entire process of bhakti is what? Purification of the senses. Sarvopadi vinirpaktam tat paratena nirmalam. So we have to purify our senses, and by that purification, then we can realize Krishna. Right? Okay, this verse is okay. It's a little bit complicated, but the three aspects and what are the qualities of each have been described by Brahma.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. At the end, it says Brahma Saukyam, right? Like
Yes. Yes.
What is the purification process?
Oh, what is your question, Martin?
At the end of the purport, it's mentioned
Brahma
such
Yes.
a transcendental quality is called Brahma Saukyam.
Yes. So you're asking what is a Brahma Saukyam?
Yes.
So actually, Prabhupada is saying this is clearly described in the 5th canto. So Prabhupada is referring to this verse 5.5.1. It is the first verse in the teachings of Rishabdev. It says, Prabhupada often quotes it, Nayam deho deva bhajam niloke, kashtan kaman arate vidbhujane, tato tapo divyam putrakanena satvam shuddhet yasman brahma sokyam ananta. So there the word Brahma Sokyam comes, 5.5.1. So basically that Rishabdev is actually making the point. Nayam deho deha bhaja niloke. The one who has got this niloke, human form of life, should not use that form of life to actually enjoy sense gratification, like what? Vidbhujande, like the pigs and the asses. That was very strong. We should not use, because once we have this human form of life, don't engage in the same activities of sense and gratification that the pigs and the hogs do. What should you use? Human form of life is meant for what? Tapo divyam. One has to do austerities. Human form of life is meant for tapasya. And what kind of tapasya? Divyam, spiritual, transcendental. Tapasya to understand the absolute. That is the purpose of human form of life. And tapo divyam putrakanyena sattva. And that way we can purify our existence. So human form of life is meant for purification. And then shuddhyet, one gets purified, then one can actually experience the Brahma Sokyam, or the unlimited happiness in Brahman. So that is happiness at the Brahman stage, Brahmabhuta Prasanatma. But imagine, Prabhupada makes a point in purpose. Imagine even at Brahmabhuta, there is so much happiness. Imagine the happiness one can experience in Bhagavan realization. So what is in the first chapter of Nectar of Devotion, what does Rupa Goswami say? The happiness experienced in Brahman realization, when that is multiplied by 1,000,000 times, that may be the happiness one experiences in Bhagavan realization. Like a drop of water and the entire ocean. It is Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. It's like an ocean of nectar in Bhakti. Right? So that is Brahma Sokyam. So Brahma Sokyam can refer to the happiness of the Brahman and the happiness of beyond, which is actually unlimited more than the happiness in the Brahman stage. Is that okay, Vijay Radhikamati?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you so much.
Okay, you can refer to 5.5.1. That's what Prabhupada is quoting here. Okay, let's go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Where is this Pratibodha Matram coming from? Is it in the verse?
Yes, in the verse, right? If you see in the second line, right? Pratibodha Matram.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Prabhupada explains word to word, a consciousness opposed to the material counterpart. Pratibodha, against the material, and that's the knowledge that the Paramatma reveals to the Jiva. Okay, next verse. 48.
Sadriyan niyam yayatayo yamakarta hetin jayu swaradi vanipana kanitramindraha.
In such a transcendental state, there is no need of artificial control of the mind, mental speculation, or meditation as performed by the Gyanis and Yogis. One gives up such processes as the heavenly king Indra forgoes the trouble to dig a well.
So now he's saying, so here it starts off with, okay, so Prabhupada starts it, in such a transcendental state. So basically he's actually talking of in such a transcendental state, basically those who are in Bhagavan realization, right? There is no need of artificial control of the mind, mental speculation, meditation. So if you see the Sanskrit, sadriyak. Sadriyak means artificial mental speculation. When you are engaged in bhakti, is there any need to do mental speculation? No need. Okay. Or is there need for niyamya, artificially controlling the senses? No, because bhakti actually gives us the higher taste. So one need not, like how the yogis, they have to artificially control their senses and do, no, I'm not going to engage in this, I'm not going to engage in this. And then in that way they progress. For us, bhakti, our process is accept the positive, and when we take the positive, the negative will go away, right? So one who is in the transcendental state, he does not have to artificially engage in mental speculation, artificially control the senses, right? And right, and then here, okay, and then the example is good. So the point is said that the worshippers of the Paramatma and the worshippers of the Brahman realization. So worshippers of the Brahman is actually referred to those who are Jnana yogis, or who are actually mental speculation. They are actually philosophical speculation. That's their process, right? And then Paramatma, what is that? That's basically Astanga Yoga. They finally realize Paramatma. So for both of these kinds, worshippers of Paramatma and Brahman, they, at some point, they give up their sadhana. When you actually, let's say Brahman, when you become Brahman realized, then you no longer have to do mental speculation. So they give up their sadhana. And if they are true to their path, from Jnana Yoga, they will be promoted to what? What's the next higher on the yoga ladder? Please unmute.
Paramatma
Bhakti.
realization.
Yeah, okay. So Brahman realization, from Jnana Yoga, you get Brahman. But after Jnana Yoga, which is the next process on the ladder?
Dhyan.
Dhyan.
Dhyana Ashtanga.
Astanga Yoga.
Yeah, Paramatma realization.
Yeah, and then you proceed towards Paramatma. So whether you're doing Brahman realization, at that stage, you give up your mental speculation. Now in Paramatma, if you're doing Astanga Yoga, after you come to Astanga Yoga, you give up that processes. But in Bhakti, do we give up our sadhana?
No.
Never. Because the sadhana that we are doing, our hearing and chanting of the Lord, is the essence of Bhakti. So even if we become pure devotees, what will we do? We'll hear and chant of the Lord. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur makes a very nice point. He says, devotees of the Lord, you should write, if you want, you can write this down. Devotees of the Lord respect their sadhana twice as much when they attain prema. So when they come to the stage of prema, it's not that they give up their sadhana. They appreciate it twice as much as they are when they are sadhakas. Because the sadhana of hearing and chanting of the Lord, that is the essence of bhakti. That's what we want to do. That's what they, even those at the stage of prema, they do, but they really relish those pastimes. Right? Okay. So,
Prabhu, can you please repeat the sentence one more time? Sorry.
The devotees of the Lord respect their sadhana twice as much when they attain prema.
Got it. Thank you.
But on the other hand, those who are worshippers of Brahman and Paramatma, what do? When they attain perfection, they give up their sadhana, right? But not true for a devotee, right? And then the example here is very nice example is Eva, just like Nipana, well, Kanitram, trouble for drinking, Indra. Now, does Indra, he is the controller of what? all the rains, right? Govardhan Leela is there, right? He controls all the rains. Now, does Indra have to take the trouble of digging a well? He is the source of all the water. He can do unlimited. He can flood, like Govardhan Leela, like, flood the villages. What he has to take the trouble of digging a well? Similarly, those who are devotees of the Lord, for them to actually think about mental speculation, or for them to engage in like artificial control of the senses, that is just ludicrous. Just like for Indra, it is just almost it's ludicrous for Indra to take the trouble of digging a well. Right? You get the point? So in that way, Brahma is actually establishing the point that Jnanis and Yogis, they have to give up. But for a bhakti, for those who are devotees of the Lord, who are realizing Bhagavan, that is the highest stage of realization. And for those who are devotees, they don't have to engage in mental speculation, all these inferior methods of realization of the absolute, and that for them to engage in such is just ludicrous. Just like for Indra, it is ludicrous for him to take the trouble of digging a well. Okay, you understand the example here? So very one may say like, Indra, why does he have to take trouble of digging a well? Similarly, why do devotees have to take trouble of mental speculation or artificially controlling the senses? Okay, verse is clear. Okay. And Prabhupada actually makes the point that one is engaged in transcendental loving service of the Lord, when one is engaged in devotional service, then simultaneously, Prabhupada uses the word, simultaneously what happens? One actually gets detachment, and one actually gets knowledge, right? So no need of mental speculation, because knowledge will come, and then no need of artificially controlling the senses, because detachment will come, which is a verse in Bhagavatam that establishes this. That by engaging in devotional service, automatically one gets knowledge and detachment. Come on, this is one of the favorite verses. You have to say this. Okay, which section of Bhagavatam?
Second chapter.
Okay, second chapter. Very good. Okay, verse number
Uh,
6 is what? Savai Pumsam Paradharma. Right. After that, text number 7. Vasudev.
Vasudeva Bhagavati.
Vasudeva Bhagavati.
Yes, Vasudeva Bhagavati, Bhakti Yoga Pravajita, Jayati Asu Vairagya.
Suvarakyam.
Yeah. Right? So you get knowledge, you get detachment. And Asu, very quickly, spontaneously, or simultaneously, one gets. So one engages in devotion, one did not have to do these other processes. Okay? Next verse. Is clear, this verse? Okay, 49.
Shreyasamapi vibhur bhagavan yatosya bhava svabhava vihitasya sata prasiddhihi dehe sudhatu vigamenu vishiryamane vyomeva tatta purusho na vishiryate jaha.
Who is next? Venkat Prabhu, did you?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. The personality of Godhead is the supreme master of everything auspicious, because the results of whatever actions are performed by the living being in either the material or spiritual existence are awarded by the Lord. As such, He is the ultimate benefactor. Every individual living entity is unborn, and therefore, even after annihilation of the material elementary body, the living entity exists, exactly like the air within the body. Hare Krishna.
Okay. So what is this verse? So this is the third verse in this section. So first line, actually, we'll just go line by line. First line says, Sa Shreyasam. Shreyasam means Shreya. Shreya and Praya. Shreya means auspicious, right? So all the auspiciousness, right? Vibhuhu, the master, comes from Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So first line is basically saying it is only from Bhagavan not Paramatma, not Brahman. All auspiciousness comes because he is the master of all auspiciousness. Right? So that is one Shreyasam. And what does this mean? That all auspiciousness comes from Bhagavan. That here, the point that Brahma is actually saying that even the results of all the other actions, whether that is material or that is Brahman realization or Paramatma realization, that will come only when it is sanctioned by the Lord himself. So even those who are worshipping Brahman and Paramatma, they can attain success only when the Lord actually, Bhagavan actually gives that success. Right? Even in the material world, one may do an action, but is the result in our hand? No, unless the Lord sanctions, we will not get a result. We may work so hard to earn $1 million, but if the Lord does not sanction, we could go bankrupt. It could be the other way, right? So even material or spiritual, the results are awarded only when the Lord is actually sanctioning them. So hence the Lord is the master of Shreyasam. He is the Vibhuhu of the all auspiciousness, right? So that's the first line. Then second line, he says, Bhava Swabhava Vihitasya Sata Prasidhihi. Prasidhihi means the ultimate success. Ultimate success of every jiva. What is ultimate success of every jiva? Now see the words Bhava and Swabhava. What is the ultimate success of every jiva?
Love for Krishna.
Okay, but Bhav Swabhava, like, can you use that words and explain what is the ultimate success for jiva?
It's the nature of the jivas to be the service.
Okay.
Krishna
Service
Swarupa
in
Niti
its own
Prakash.
constitutional position.
In the own constitutional position. So actually the ultimate success for every jiva is to revive that relationship with Krishna in his swabhava. And that swabhava may be dasya, that may be sakhya, that may be vatsalya, that may be prema, that may be madhurya. Any of this. So that highest perfection for every jiva, bhava, swabhava, vihitasya, prasidhi, that ultimate success is given by whom? Only by the Bhagavan. So the realization of Brahman and Paramatma is not the ultimate success. It is not Prasiddhi. That ultimate success of the jiva being situated in his constitutional relationship with Krishna, in his original bhava, that is given only by Bhagavan. Right? So hence he is the ultimate benefactor. So that's the second point. Now, third point is third line. Dehe swadhatu vigame. So basically he's saying dehe means body, right? Swadhatu. So dhatu means all the elements. So when the body dissolves after the departure of all the dhatus, right? What actually stays in the body? The Atma. Right? Atma. Atma cannot be. Atma is, the word is used, ajaha. It is unborn. Right? So Atma will still stay. Just like Vyoma, Vyoma means sky within the body. So right now within the body, there is air. Right? There is air within the body right now. So similarly, the soul stays even after the destruction of the body. Right? So this point I was actually wondering that how is it related to the first two? The first two lines are okay. How the Lord is the ultimate benefactor, how the Lord is the master of all auspiciousness, right? How is this related to line 3 and 4? Line 3 is actually saying that even after the body dissolves after departure of the dhatus, the living entity is never vanquished, just like the sky or the ether. So when the body actually, one leaves, when the body actually deteriorates, the air is still there in the body, right? I mean, the air is exactly like air within the body, how the air is there within the body. When the body is also decaying, the air will just merge back into its element. So just like air within the body, similarly, the point of the soul within the material body. But how is this related to the line 1 and 2? Anyone has any thoughts on that? You understand the question here? What I'm asking? Okay.
So, Prabhu, you said that Bhagwan sanctions everything, and the ultimate success, perfection, is the loving service in our own constitutional position. So when we leave this body, if we can go back and serve Krishna in our own constitutional position, that will be the ultimate success, and which can only be possible if Bhagwan sanctions it.
Okay, that's a good attempt. So the point here I was actually seeing, and Prabhupada actually makes this point in the purport, is just like when the body is actually, when one gives up one's body, right? Whatever devotional service one has done, is that ever vanquished? No. Right? Neha vikramo nastosi pratyavayo savidyate swalpam api asya dharmasya trayato mahata. Even little bit devotional service you have done in this life, that will actually continue in your next life. So if you have come from point A to point B in your realization of your Swarup, then next life you're going to continue from the point B further to complete realization of the Swarup. So just like when the body, the dhatus are there, the spirit soul is not vanquished. Similarly, when one engages in realization of Bhagavan feature, devotional service, that devotional service is not vanquished. And hence that devotion to Bhagavan is actually the highest sadhana. And that will give the highest result of Bhava Swabhava, the realization of our real constitutional nature with the Lord. Is that?
So just can you repeat that whole statement?
Okay, so the point is, like Prabhupada is actually explaining the point in the purport, that whatever devotional service we do in this life, that continues in our next life. That point is okay, right? So similarly, the point is said that when the dhatus of the body are dissolved, the spirit soul remains. Similarly, the sadhana one does in his lifetime to realize Bhagavan, that is never vanquished. That remains, and that continues on to the next lifetime. So that sadhana is actually the highest, and hence the word prasiddha, and that realization of Bhagavan is actually the highest, and superior to the realization of Brahman and Paramatma. Like if someone is engaged, let's say in Astanga Yoga, or one is engaged in Jnana Yoga, like when he actually goes to his next life, does that continue?
Yes, maybe at higher level. That's what you are trying to say, if I understand correctly.
No, but I'm asking in Astanga Yoga or Jnana Yoga.
Ah.
If someone has done Jnana Yoga in this life to a particular stage, not attain success, will he continue in the next life?
That I'm not sure, but Bhagavan, if you are doing that in Bhagavan, that will be continued.
Yes, so that's the whole point of this verse, that when we are doing devotion to Krishna, that is actually continuing in the next life. So that can never be vanquished, just like the spirit soul is never vanquished when the body dissolves. So just that point is a focus here. That's why Prabhupada in the purport, if you see, he refers to a 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, and he says that the last paragraph, I'll just read, last but one. It says, the Lord is so kind that even if a devotee of the Lord cannot fulfill the complete course of devotional service, unalloyed and uncontaminated by material association, he is given another chance in the next life by being awarded a birth in the family of a devotee or rich man, so that without being engaged in the struggle for material existence, the devotee can finish the remaining purification of his existence, and thus immediately after relinquishing the present body, go home back to Godhead. Right? So Prabhupada in one paragraph is actually connecting both these points. Okay. So is that okay, this verse? The first two lines are clear, right? As it is, right? How Lord is the ultimate, he is the master of all Shreya, or all auspiciousness, because everything you do, the results can be obtained only when it's sanctioned by the Lord. Second point is how the Lord is gives the ultimate, he's the ultimate benefactor, because he gives the ultimate perfection for the jiva. Line 3 is how when the body dissolves, the soul is not vanquished, just like how the air is actually always present within the body, right? And the relationship between these two is the aspect of the sadhana when we do for realization of Bhagavan, that is never vanquished. That continues from lifetime after lifetime.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I have a doubt.
Yes, ma'am.
Sometimes if like in this life, if you said even jnana is never carried over to the next life. I thought it was bhakti. Yes, sometimes some kid, even though it's a small child, he's gifted with a lot of something that we carry over from the previous life. Is that jnana or what it is? I'm confused.
So, Mataji, here is the point. See, the point is, if someone is born and he's a prodigy, that could be just karma. That may have nothing to do with bhakti, right? Someone may be born and he's really like very intelligent, and then you see like there's so many examples, like people, like even young kids, they can actually solve maths, difficult math problems and all. That's just to do with their karma. That has nothing to do with the path of spiritual life. Now, when you consider Gyan or Astanga Yoga, even when they are doing these two processes, there is an element of bhakti which is there in both of these. Because without bhakti, none of this can be successful. So that element of bhakti which is there in both of these, that will continue in the next life. But if the process of, like, let's say Astanga Yoga, what is the first and the second one? Yama and Niyam, right? Following rules and regulations, right? And then, not doing so and so. If one is just at that level and he has not started the spiritual path, then next lifetime, again, he'll have to go back from Yama and Niyam. So only the spiritual aspect or devotional aspect of these two processes gets carried on to the next life, not the mechanical aspect of these processes.
Wonderful, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
And then, someone is born very smart, that could just be karma. So you have to see whether it is just karma or whether it is like a spiritual carryover. Right? 6th chapter of Gita is actually saying those who are engaged in devotional service, then they carry on from there next life. Okay. So these 3 verses, they're a little bit, more technical, but here Brahma is actually establishing 47, 48, 49, that Bhagavan realization is the highest realization. Not Paramatma, not Brahman. That is realization of Bhagavan is the ultimate. Okay. Let's see any comments up to this point. Let's take some reflections. Anyone, any point that you heard or any other question up to this point, then we can continue.
Which I like that how Brahman is always explained in relationship to Bhagavan. So the example is always given that if we see sun rays, sun is there. So how people just say that Brahman is everything. That's
very nice. Very nicely said, Mati. Very nice point. Thank you. Okay. Anyone else? Any other points?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, the sadhana for jnani and yogi versus bhakta, he will, everything is give up sadhana, but bhakta will never give up sadhana, and it is twice as much as when he reaches the prema. That is wonderful.
Yeah, okay. Very nice. There's a story that Satchidananda Maharaj actually says about this person who didn't know what is gold. And the person said, "Come, I'll show you what is gold." And he takes him on a pathway in the palace, and they're walking, and then they finally come to the end of the tunnel or the passageway, and then he sees gold, shiny object, and says, "This is gold," And then the person is thinking, "Okay, this is gold, but the entire pathway that I took was actually all made of the same substance." So from that entire passage that he was walking, everything was gold, but it's only at the final stage he realized, "Oh, this is gold." Like the example that Maharaj is actually saying, that even right now, this sadhana of chanting and hearing, this is the highest thing. We may not realize it. The person is walking through a passage, but he doesn't know that this is the highest thing. This is gold. Only when at the last he realized, "Oh, this is gold." So similarly, this is our everything. Our opportunity to hear and chant about Krishna is the highest thing. The great souls are actually aspiring, or their only desire is, oh Lord, let me always be in the association of devotees so that I can hear about you, I can chant your glories. Even when the Lord personally appears in front of a devotee, the devotee prays, oh Lord, let me be in the association of devotees so I can hear and chant about you. So that hearing and chanting is the highest sadhana. That is the highest. We may not at this stage as sadhana level, maybe we are not appreciating this, but this is our real treasure, is our opportunity to hear and chant the glories of the Lord. And when we reach perfection, we'll do the same thing, but we will do it in a pure state where we are really relishing the nectar, right? What is that? Nigama kalpataru galitam phalam sukhamukhat amrita davya samudam pibata bhagavatam rasam ane muhur aho rasika. So we'll become muhur aho rasikas when we actually get more and more purified. Sadhana and sadhya is the same for bhaktas. Okay, good. Okay, should we continue? So there are only 4 verses in the chapter. So we'll complete these 4 verses. And these are now easier. Like the technical section is actually done now. These are easier. And this is very nice. Especially those who are book distributors, you'll get a lot of inspiration from this. And those who are not, you'll get inspired to do book distribution from these verses. So it's a very nice section. So let's do text number 50.
Prabhuji, Divinita Mataji, what does sadhya means? Sadhana is our practice, but does sadhya means is the goal?
The goal, yeah.
Okay.
So our process and the goal is the same. We are chanting now, and our goal is finally to chant and hear about Krishna. Okay, text 50.
Soyam te bihitastata bhagavan vishvabhavanaha samasena harirnanyad anyasmat sat asarchayat.
My dear son, I have now explained in brief the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the creator of the manifested worlds. But without him, Hari, the Lord, there are no other causes of the phenomenal and noumenal existence.
Thank you, Mataji. Okay, so what is here in this verse, text 50, he is saying one way Brahma is summarizing the last 4 chapters. Right? This is a summary verse of the last 4 chapters. So he's saying, Soyam te bihitas tata. Tata means what? Oh, my dear son. So Brahma is telling Narada, oh Tata, Soyam te bihitas. Whatever you have asked, now I have abhitaha, I have explained to you. You asked me all those questions, the 6 questions, I have given all the answers here, right? And what is the conclusion of this whole thing? Bhagavan Vishva Bhavana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is Vishva Bhavana. Vishva Bhavana means what? The creator of all these material universes, creator of all these manifestations. What is the essence? That Bhagavan, who is the creator of all these material universes, Samasena. Okay, and then he says Samasena, in essence or in brief, Harera. Harer means Hari. Na Anya. Na means never. Anya, anything else. Anyasmat Sat Asat Chaya. Right? So basically, Brahma is saying that I have explained everything. And what is the essence in brief? In brief, the essence is that Bhagavan Vishwa Bhavana is actually okay. The essence is that Bhagavan, that Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is the creator of this manifested universes. That is the first point. And then he says, Harer na anyad. Without Hari, there is actually nothing. Na anyad, right? Na anyad. Yet anyasmat sat asat chayat. Yet anyasmat is Prabhupada translate as being the cause of the manifested and the noumenal world. So he is the ultimate cause of everything. That Bhagavan is the ultimate cause of everything. Without Hari, right? Hare na anya, there is actually nothing. So if you see Narad Muni's 6 questions, what are the answers? The answer is always like Krishna is the ultimate cause of everything. He says, who is the shelter of this universe? Krishna, Narayan, he says. Then who is the cause of this universe? Krishna. Like everything, he just comes back to is finally Krishna, Narayan, or Vishnu. Right? So he's summarizing and saying that Sat, Asat, the effect, like the universe in totality and all these parts, and Asat, the cause of this universe, which is actually the Jivas, both of them, both Sat and Asat, right? The universe itself and Asat, the cause of the universe, which is the Jivas, both of them are Shaktis of the Lord, are energies of the Lord, right? In that way, they are non-different from the Lord, but yet it says, Anyasmat, yet the Lord is actually different from them. Right? So both of them are energies of the Lord. This Prakriti, energy of the Lord. Jiva, energy of the Lord. So who is the cause behind everything? Bhagavan Vishwabhavana. Right? But is the Lord, is the Jiva and the Prakriti the Lord? No, no. The Jiva, yet the Lord is actually different from them. And this is the essence of the entire instructions. Right? Okay. So Prabhupada in the purport talks about this. So Jiva, he said there are two energies. One is the marginal energy, one is the inferior energy. Marginal energy is who? The Jivas. Inferior energy is who? Prakriti. Right? So both of them, the Jiva who are struggling for existence and the Prakriti, which is this temporary world, both of them, the cause of both of these is what? Hari or Krishna. Hari na anyat. There is no other cause beyond Hari. Therefore, he is the ultimate cause of all causes. Yet, he is actually aloof from this. Like there's a difference between the potent and the potency. The energy and the energetic. Right? So one way, energy and energetic cannot be separated. Fire and heat and light, can they be separated? No, they're always together. Energy and energy are together. One way the same, yet they are actually different. Right? So that's it. Okay. And then the last, towards the end of the purport, Prabhupada actually says, one should not deprecate the Supreme Lord for the creation of this miserable world, just as one should not blame the king for the creation of prison house. And we do this, right? We say, oh, material world is so horrible. So many miseries. Oh God, why did you create this horrible place? Why are we blaming the Lord for our own mistakes? So just like Prabhupada gives up, if someone is inside the prison house, is it the fault of the government or the fault of that person? And if someone is a prisoner and he's saying, oh government, it is you are the responsible for this place. No, it is your choice that you actually came into the prison. You are the one who actually rebelled against the laws of the government, and hence you are here. Right? So one should not deprecate the Lord for the creation of this miserable world, right? And just like one should not blame the king for the prison house. Prison house is a necessary institution, right? It is important that whenever there is law, there will be people who will break the law, right? Like us, we have broken the law, and hence we are here in this material world, right? So those who are disobedient to the laws of the government. Similarly, the material world, full of miseries, a temporary creation of the Lord for those who have forgotten him. They're trying to lord it over the false manifestation. But he, the Lord, is always anxious to get the fallen souls back home, back to God. How do we know the Lord is anxious to get us back home, back to God?
He himself come again and again. And
He himself comes again and again. How many incarnations do we read? Every yuga is an incarnation. In yuga, so many incarnations. Again and again, the Lord is coming. Does the Lord need to come to this prison house? Why does the Lord care? He doesn't need to. He's enjoying it. Sahasra, Lakshmi, and Gopis, and Chintamani, Prakarasadma, Sukalpa, Vriksha. He's enjoying in the spiritual world. Why does he need to come? Because he's anxious to get us back home, back to God. How else do we know the Lord is anxious to get us back home, back to God? One is he comes again and again. Then, what's it?
he also sends his eternal associates.
He sends his own representatives, the gurus, right? And then Shastras, right? He has given us Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, all this. Why is this all given to us? because this is actually a way by which we can actually go back home, back to God. Right? So the Lord is so anxious that he's coming again and again. He himself comes, sends his representatives, or give us the Shastras, and by that we can actually go home, back to God. Okay. So that is the conclusion of what all Brahma has answered. That he's saying everything, the cause of all causes is Hari. He's the one who creates the world, and without him, nothing exists. That's it. That's the final bottom line. Okay, now 51. Now our book distribution verse has come.
Idam bhagavatam nama yanme bhagavato ditam sangraho yam vibhutinam tvam etad vipuli kuru. Rohini Nandan.
Rohinam Prabhu. Okay, next is, you can go ahead, Radha.
O Narada, the science of God, Srimad Bhagavatam, was spoken to me in summary by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it was spoken as the accumulation of his diverse potencies. Please expand the science yourself.
So what is it? We go line by line. Idam Bhagavata Nama. This science, what I have given, is actually Srimad Bhagavatam. What I'm speaking to you is Srimad Bhagavatam. This science of God is of the name Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam. Yan me Bhagavato didam. This actually was spoken to me, or Uditam means enlightened. I was enlightened by whom? By Bhagavan, by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we know this, we'll read in the next, in 2.9, where we have Chatushloki Bhagavatam. Right? The 4 verses that actually Krishna tells to Brahma. Sangro me vibhutinam. So is this just like some normal science? No. This Bhagavatam is the accumulation of the vibhutis, or the diverse potencies of the Lord. The Bhagavatam is the accumulation of the vibhutis of the Lord. So this Bhagavatam is actually Krishna himself. It is not just any kind of material creation. It is actually the vibhutis, or the potencies of the Lord. It is a sangraha. It is an accumulation of the potencies of the Lord. Tvam etat vipuli kuri. You go out and you distribute this Bhagavatam to everyone. This is Brahma's order to Narad Muni. He's directly saying, this is the Bhagavatam. This Bhagavatam is actually, I was given this knowledge by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is a collection of all the potencies of the Lord. This is not an ordinary creation. Go out and give Bhagavatam to others. This is our campaign for Bhadra Purnima. Everyone go out, especially for all of us. We are taking time, we are going deep into this, into studying Srimad Bhagavatam. We realize, at least to a certain extent, we realize the importance, the glory of Srimad Bhagavatam. Hence, it is actually for us really important. Now, knowing the value of Bhagavatam, we have to give it to others. Give it to others. This is the only solution that will actually, only way that we can, save the world. We can solve the problems of this world. So, so this is the verse. Like Brahma is clearly saying, "Tvam etad." You expand this. You distribute this knowledge everywhere. So. Okay. Narad Muni, the Brahma give the book to Narad. He's actually directly speaking. That's the words. Right? Before people weren't like so forgetful like how we are. We read something and next class we forget. Brahma spoke to Narad. Narad now knows. Now he goes and he gives the knowledge to who? Who else does he give the knowledge to?
Dhruv Maharaj,
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 Prahlad Maharaj.
Vyasadeva.
Vyasadeva.
Who else?
Valmiki. What does Bhagavad mean?
Bhagavatam, what is example? There's so many. And then Prachini Bharisat, right? The 4th canto is there, the whole section. So everywhere you see Narad Muni comes again and again and again to give knowledge. So he's giving the same Bhagavatam to knowledge to everyone. And this is actually, he's getting this direct instruction from Brahma, and that instruction is coming down the disciplic succession to each one of us. And Prabhupada has given us the same instruction. Go out, distribute Bhagavatam, spread this knowledge. Okay. So Prabhupada in the purport refers that also the Lord is actually, directly he's given the essence of Bhagavatam to Brahma, which will be the 6 verses in 2.9. It's actually Chatushloki Bhagavatam, we'll come to that. And Bhagavatam is actually a sangraha. It is a collection of the potencies of the Lord. And hence it's actually non-different from the Lord. This is not an ordinary creation. This is actually directly the science of Godhead and directly the Lord himself. And then Prabhupada actually says how Krishna gave the knowledge to Brahma. Brahma is giving to Narada. Narada is given to Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva is actually passing down. So this knowledge can only be received through a chain of disciplic succession, right? And he gives a very nice example, and we discussed this for the Nigama Kalpataru verse, that how when there's a ripened fruit, let's say on top of a tree, right, there's a very ripe mango. Now, if a person is below, you just drop the mango, then that's it. By the time it comes, it's all like, you won't get the mango intact. The best way to get that ripened mango, which is overflowing with juice, is it has to be passed down. You have okay, that person is on the topmost branch, you need another person on a branch below it, another person on a branch below it. So it has to be passed down hand to hand. You take this, you take this, you take this, you take this, and then when we get it, then we receive the nectar as it is. Right? So Prabhupada focuses on this, that is the only way one can actually receive the real nectar of Bhagavatam, when it is passed down through a chain of disciplic succession coming down from Krishna himself. Right? And Prabhupada says, without being broken by falling suddenly. If the fruit falls suddenly, then the chain is broken. But otherwise, to receive it, it has to go one by one. Right? Okay. Then okay, next 52. Yeah, okay. Next, let's go 52.
Yataharo Bhagavati Nrinam Bhaktir Bhavishyati Sarvatmanyakilladhare Iti Sankalpya Varnaya. Mohananda Prabhu.
Mataji, I'm listening only.
Kaushalya Mataji.
Okay, everyone who has a camera off, it's a requirement of the Bhagavatam class that you need to have your camera off. You are here, like this.
Sorry, Mataji.
Yeah, go ahead. It's like this Bhagavatam is serious study, this is like if you're doing Bhakti Vaibhav, we have to seriously give that time to studying Bhagavatam. And that's why I have requested that if you're here, turn your cameras on and give 100% attention, because half-heartedly, then you won't really study Bhagavatam. This is a serious study.
Sorry, Prabhuji, today.
My settings is wrong. So because I just came back from India, so I will try to turn it on next time. Sorry about that.
No, Prabhuji, for my computer, I keep trying. I ask my Prabhuji, but I don't know how to do this, the video one.
You can talk to someone. See, the main point is if you're here, then even we are inspired to see the association on all devotees. Everyone is present 100% here. And just, that's the way we study Bhagavatam. So please try. And
yeah, because, I know if it is video is there, so it's really we talk like one-to-one.
Yes. Okay, go ahead, Mata. Read the translation. Kaushalya Mata.
It's a 52, right?
Yes.
Yes. Translation, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Please describe the science of Godhead with determination and in a manner by which it will be quite possible for the human being to develop transcendental devotional service unto the personality of Godhead Hari, the super soul of every living being and the summon woman source of all energies. Hare Krishna. Again, sorry for.
No, that's okay, Mata. Yeah. I just want to, at times I have to remind everyone that please, Sunday morning, 100% you have to give attention here. Right? Okay. Thank you. So let's, this is another wonderful verse. Yata haro bhagavati. Right? Is actually saying, okay, so previous verse, what does Brahma give the instruction to Narada? He said, you have to distribute this knowledge. I have given you, I received it from Krishna, you have to give it out. No, but how should you give it out? You know, and here is actually saying, Ninam Bhaktir Bhavishyati. You give this knowledge in such a way that it actually invokes bhakti in the heart of the people. That is how we should speak Bhagavatam. That it actually inspires devotion in the heart. That people feel, oh yes, Krishna, I just want to serve Krishna. I want to give my life to Krishna. That is the beauty of Bhagavatam. You know. So here Brahma is saying, okay, iti sankalpa varnya. You have to take a vow. What is the vow? That we are going to speak Srimad Bhagavatam to others. We are going to distribute Srimad Bhagavatam. It is sankalpa, with determination. We have to distribute Bhagavatam, speak Bhagavatam. Yata haro bhagavati, nrinam bhaktir bhavisya. And how should we do it? We should do it in a way, yatha, in such a way that bhakti will appear in the hearts of people. Bhaktir bhavishyati. Devotion will arise in the heart of people. Right? And also the Hari, that word Hari, Prabhupada explains unto the personality of Godhead. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur actually explains this Hari as that Lord which attracts the mind of the people by prema. You know, so entire Bhagavatam is talking of what? Hari. And Hari is so attractive that it will attract the mind of the people by prema. So you speak in such a way that people's mind is attracted to Hari. That's basically their devotion. And then the second thing, second explanation of Hari. Hari means what? One who takes away our material anxieties. Right? So describe in such a way that when you describe it, your material anxieties will go away, and the people who receive it, their material anxieties will go away. Right? So speak in such a way. And also Bhagavati, right? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying, why is it not saying Bhagavan? Why does it say Bhagavati? Because Bhagavati refers to the form of Bhagavan, which is easy to worship. Now we are studying Srimad Bhagavatam. What are we doing? We are worshipping the Lord. It's an easy way to worship the Lord. You know, just by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, we are worshipping the Lord. So Bhagavati is used instead of Bhagavan because it's an easy way to worship the Lord. And then Bhagavati is also used because Bhagavan possesses all wonderful qualities. And hence he is Hari. He'll attract the mind of the conditioned souls. So such a beautiful verse. Right? And then it also says Sarvatmani. Sarvatmani means he is the super soul of everyone. Right? He is the Lord of all essence. He's the super soul of everyone. And Akhila Dhare. Akhila Dhare means all desires can be achieved by studying Srimad Bhagavatam. Right? Akhila Dhare. Right? Even material desires can be achieved by studying Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is the summum bonum of all knowledge. Right? So Prabhupada says, Srimad Bhagavatam is a philosophy of devotional service. It is a scientific presentation of man's relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such beautiful, like Prabhupada's sentence, so wonderful. What is Bhagavatam? It is a scientific presentation of man's relation or human being's relationship with God. Okay, and also like Vishwanath Thakur is actually saying that this Brahma is actually giving to Narada particularly for people of Kali Yuga. You know, and then he actually quotes the verse, which is a verse where it actually says this Bhagavatam is particularly for people of Kali Yuga. 1.3.43. Krishna Swadhamo Pagate Dharma Jnana Visa Kalo Nashta Drishamesha Punanarko Dhanodita. Right? Krishna went to the abode, Krishna Swadhamo Pagate Dharma Jnana Visa. Dharma and Gyan left. But in Kali Yuga, how will people know what is Dharma? Krishna has arisen in the form of the Srimad Bhagavatam to actually give this knowledge to everyone. Right? So particularly for Kali Yuga, people are engaged in four sinful activities. They have forgotten their eternal relationship with God, and hence everyone has become blind. Blind in spiritual knowledge, Prabhupada says. Right? Everyone has become blind. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam is the torchlight to see things in the proper perspective. Srimad Bhagavatam is our guiding light in this dark age of Kali Yuga. The only light which is actually giving light to people is actually this torchlight, is the Srimad Bhagavatam. And Srimad Bhagavatam is so scientifically presented. Any sincere student of this great science can understand if he does two things. Again, going to a point I just made. He has to hear with attention, and second, you have to regularly do it. If you do these two things, then you can actually scientifically, you can understand the Srimad Bhagavatam. And then also Prabhupada says, everyone is hankering after happiness, but people do not know who is the reservoir of all happiness? Krishna, right? If you want happiness, the reservoir of all happiness is Krishna himself, right? So if you really want happiness, you turn to Krishna. So happiness in the complete perfection without hindrance can be obtained through this Srimad Bhagavatam, because this is giving a scientific presentation of our relationship with God. Right? Okay, so every one of us, we have to take a sankalpa, and Prabhupada ends this by saying that take this matter very seriously in a missionary spirit. See the last sentence of the purport. Take this matter very seriously in a missionary spirit. So this can be our like a motto. You can write it on your fridge. Take this matter very seriously in a missionary spirit. Distribute Srimad Bhagavatam. Read Srimad Bhagavatam, study Srimad Bhagavatam, give Bhagavatam to others. That is our essence. Right? Okay. So last verse, 53.
Mayam varnayato mushya ishvarasyanumodataha shinvata shradaya nityam maya yatmanamuyati.
Okay, who's that?
I can read Mataji 1 minute. Getting the book, which verse, Prabhuji?
2753, last verse of the chapter.
So sorry, Prabhuji, we got up late.
That's okay. So we can come back to you, Mataji, if you have to get the book.
I have it, Prabhuji. I'm going to 28th verse now.
53.
Oh, sorry, Prabhuji, someone else can go with this previous book. Let me get another book.
Karuna Mataji, would you like to read?
Can I? Oh, sorry. Can I read Prabhuji again?
You read, right? I want to
Yes.
everyone should get a chance. Karuna Mataji, would you like to read?
Yeah, I can read it. The Lord's activities in association with different energies should be described, appreciated, and heard in accordance with the teachings of the Supreme Lord. If this is done regularly with devotion and respect, one is sure to get out of the illusory energy of the Lord.
Okay. So now the last verse is very interesting. Maya Varnayato. Varnayato means what? Varnan karna, like describe, right? So Maya referring to what? Maya here referring to the affairs of the external energy of the Lord. So what is that? So till now in the last few chapters, what we have been reading is the activities of the Lord in terms of creation of this material world. So basically the activities of the Lord in terms of the external energy, that is Maya. So Maya Varnayato Amusya, right? So activities, affairs of the external energy of Lord, of the personality of Godhead. Then it says Ishwarya Anumodataha, right? So there are three actually words: Varnayataha, Anumodataha, and Shrinvataha. Varnataya means describe. Anumodataha means appreciate. That means we have to study, we have to appreciate the knowledge. And then Shrinvataha, we have to hear, right? So we hear it, we appreciate it, and we describe it, right? And how should you do that? With Shraddhaya and Nityam, right? With devotion, and every day you have to do. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, right? These two, right? This way, okay, then it says what? Maya Atma na muyati, right? In this way, the living entity will not be na muyati. Muyati means, which is the other verse where we read muyati?
Yeah,
first 1.1.1, right? Muyati. So it says Maya Yatma na muyati. So the Atma will not be bewildered. So what is this verse really telling? So one may say, okay, Brahma explained what initially explained the entire aspect of creation. And then he talked about Leela avatars. Now, should one focus only of Leela avatars and not talk about this, the activities of the Lord in terms of Maya? Or should we talk about both? Or should we focus on one or the other? You understand the relationship here? One is activities of the Lord in terms of creation of this material world. One is directly activities in terms of the Leelas. Right? So both. Divinity Mata is saying both. So here the point is actually said that this affairs of this, the aspect of this creation, those pastime, actually those who are conditioned, you should actually read these pastimes, because that's the way you can actually, sorry, I'll say that again. Those who are conditioned jivas, we should study these pastimes of the creation of this material world, because only by studying this we can actually get free from illusion. And then the pastimes of the Lord, the description of the pastimes and the leelas are actually meant for those who are actually liberated. So Prabhupada is actually making this point in the purport. He says there are two kinds of signs of God. One is where whose subjects are the names and the pastimes. Right? Whose subjects are the names and the pastimes. That means what? Like Giridhari, lifting of Govardhan Hill. Right? So all those pastimes, Leela Avatar, they're all spiritual, they're all full of bliss. Right? So that is one. The second is pastimes of the Purusha avatars, which are actually dealing with the Maya Shakti, right? So one is the pastimes of the Lord directly in terms of his different leelas. Second is pastimes of the Purusha avatars, which are actually dealing with the Maya Shakti predominantly. Right? Now, out of these two, so the question is, should one focus on one and not the other? The first one is leelas. The second one is in terms of the Maya creation. Should one focus only on one and not on the other? The answer is here, that have faith that even the Maya Shakti of the Lord, along with the Mahat Tattva, she is actually a devotee of the Lord with the greatest devotion. Even Maya herself is a devotee of the Lord. Right? And we just previously read, Brahma made the point what? That when we actually glorify the devotees, when we understand devotees, then we get access to the mercy of the Lord. Maya herself is a devotee. Hence, why should we ignore these topics? So those who actually take shelter, read these topics, these topics of the Lord in terms of creation, then we will actually not be affected by Maya, because even these topics are transcendental. These topics are spiritual. Right? So that's how Brahma is concluding this entire section, that don't think that this aspect of creation is mundane or this is not as potent as the Leela avatar. This is also very powerful. This is completely spiritual. And then it actually concludes by saying, Maya Atma na muyati. If you study this, then the jiva will not be muyati, will not be bewildered by Maya. Okay. So the jivas who are not completely free from the clutches of Maya should devoutly hear regularly about these activities of the Lord in relationship with the external energy. Is that okay? That makes sense? Right? So these two categories of the Leelas, of descriptions of the Lord, and how the point is made that the jivas who are not completely free from the influence of Maya should devoutly hear regularly about these pastimes of the Lord in relationship with its external energy. Right? Okay. Now, Prabhupada in the purport, he makes this like the first sentence of the purport. Okay, we'll just read that. The science of learning a subject matter seriously is different from the sentiments of fanatics. What does this mean? Anyone would like to explain this first line? Go ahead, anyone would like to even attempt? The science of learning a subject matter seriously is different from the sentiments of fanatics. And Prabhupada explains further, Fanatics or fools may consider the Lord's activities in relation with the external energy to be useless for them, and they may falsely claim to be the higher participants in the internal energy of the Lord. But factually, the Lord's activities in relation with the external energy and the internal energy are equally good. So basically, Prabhupada is referring to, and this is one thing that differentiates ISKCON from most of the other spiritual societies, that for us, studying this entire thing is a serious matter. You know, what did Prabhupada say in the preface? What is the qualification to understand Srimad Bhagavatam? One has to systematically go from the first chapter, first canto, go step by step towards the 10th canto. You know, how many other people, even though they may be engaged in religious activities or spiritual activities, want to do a serious study of our scriptures? Not so many. People will say, okay, I'm watching Vishnu Puran on TV, or I'm watching Ramayana on TV. Or they'll say, I'm doing this, or, oh, I heard this Purana, this section. Oh, I just found it so nice story I read. People in general are not interested for a systematic study of our scriptures. But Prabhupada is actually teaching us step by step, we have to systematically, seriously study, not just like fanatics. Oh, now we'll hear about Govardhan Lila, now we'll hear Rasa Lila. In India it's common. People, they do Bhagavad Saptah, they speak only of Rasa Lila or, some of the intimate pastimes. That is not the way to understand spiritual side. You have to go systematically from step one and then build on. And then Prabhupada, there's this, Prabhupada actually makes this point. He says, first understand Krishna in Kurukshetra, then you will understand Krishna in Vrindavan. Right? But everyone wants to talk of Krishna and Ras Leela pastimes in Vrindavan, but both are equally good. And the one who is actually differentiating, saying that, oh, Ras Leela, that's what we have to talk about. We won't talk about the creation. That means he's still seeing the creation as something material, not seeing the creation pastimes as spiritual. That means his understanding is not complete. Krishna as Purusha avatars, Krishna as Kurukshetra, his pastime, they are all completely transcendent. Right? And Prabhupada says, just see the Ras Leela topics, they are actually meant for liberated souls. Conditioned souls should not imitate the activities of the liberated souls. Right? Sometimes we think in our spiritual life that we are so advanced, we can hear Ras Leela. But conditioned souls should not imitate the activities of the liberated soul. And we should understand where we are in our spiritual life. So start off systematically from the first canto, go on, first 9 cantos, prepare the ground, prepare our consciousness, then we can really relish 10th canto of the Bhagavatam. Right? So Srimad Bhagavatam is science of Godhead. It's not sensuous understanding, right? Not just some kind of fanatics. Oh, I read this here, I read that. Systematic, step by step. Right? And if we actually do that, Prabhupada says will gradually be promoted to higher status of transcendental knowledge, and just by relishing Srimad Bhagavatam, we'll go back home, back to Godhead. That's the power of Srimad Bhagavatam. Right? So this last 4 verses that we discussed, first point that Brahma is actually saying, that I have explained all this. The essence of all this knowledge is what? What is the essence of all this knowledge? Please.
Hari.
What's that, Prabhu? Go ahead.
Hari is everything.
Hari is everything. Yes. Hari Vina, without Hari, nothing exists. Hari is the cause of all causes, right? That is, he's Vishwa Bhavana. He's the one who's in charge of creation. Everything is actually Lord Hari. Then, second verse 51 is actually saying that, oh, Narada, I have spoken this as I've heard from Krishna. I have given you this knowledge. Now you go out and you distribute this knowledge. Third verse is saying, how should you distribute this knowledge? You distribute this knowledge in such a way that it invokes bhakti in the heart of the hearer, right? And particularly he uses the word Hari. Hari means what? The one who actually attracts the mind by his qualities. So give Bhagavatam in such a way that the mind of the conditioned soul will be attracted to Krishna. That's how you give, right? Not like a parrot, yes. And then that's the third verse. And the last verse he says that he gives equal importance to the Lord's pastimes with the external energy as that with the internal energy, right? And especially for those who are in the clutches of Maya, we should hear these creation pastimes because then we will become na muyati. We will not be bewildered by this ignorance of Maya. Okay, so that concludes this chapter 7. Is that okay? Okay, let's see any comments. We'll take a break now. Any comments, realizations, any points that you like?
I have one
Yes, go
on the
ahead.
last chapter. Sometimes I come in and out. My internet connection is horrible. So sometimes I have to shut things down a little bit to get it come back. But on the last verse when you were describing it, I was thinking about another example. It's like when you build a house, before you build the top, you have to dig the hole and build a foundation. And unless you have a very good foundation, the house is going to come crumbling down. So we don't start at the end. We have to start at the beginning for the same reason.
Wonderful.
That was it.
Very nice example. Very nice. Thank you. Foundation has to be studied. Otherwise, how will we actually release the higher sections of the Bhagavatam? Very nice. Thank you. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I really like the point. Like, don't blindly distribute Srimad Bhagavatam, but we should distribute it in such a way that invokes bhakti in their hearts. I really like that point, Prabhuji.
Yes, thank you.
Prabhuji, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you please explain that Sat and Asat, nominal and phenomenal in, I think, 50, verse 50, one more time?
Let's see, text 50.
Yeah, 50, Sat, phenomenal, and Asat is nominal. Yeah.
Oh. So, one way, like if you see in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, in text number 2, what does Krishna say? I'm going to give you this knowledge, both phenomenal and numinous. And knowing this, nothing further shall remain for you to know. Bhagavad Gita 7.2, right? So same here, the Sat and Asat, so there are different understandings. One understanding is one can say, Sat refers to what? Spiritual world. Asat refers to what? Material world. So both of them, who is the cause of both the material and the spiritual world? Krishna himself, right? One understanding. Is that okay? First understanding?
Yeah, yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Now, second understanding is that of Sat and Asat referring to the Prakriti and the Jiva. So, material nature is what? Asat here. What is Jiva? They are Sat, right? And Jiva is eternal, right? But material nature is temporary in that way. It comes and goes. So, if you consider Sat and Asat as referring to the Jiva and the Prakriti, then both of them, who is the cause of both of them?
Right.
So either you take material world or spiritual world, or you take Jiva or Prakriti, or you take cause and effect of anything that happens. It is all the Lord is the cause of all. So third one would be like the cause and effect of anything that happens in the world. Krishna is the cause of everything, ultimate cause of everything.
Thank you so much.
Okay, anything else? Any comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, right.
Recordings for the previous classes that I missed, is it available?
It's all on the same that I'm
Same that-
everything on the YouTube channel on the same playlist.
Okay, thank you so much.
So if you go to our WhatsApp group, on the group description, the link is there. So you click on that, all the classes are there from starting.
I like the point that Brahma is giving the instruction to Narada to distribute Srimad Bhagavatam. And then when we go through the Srimad Bhagavatam, we'll see how Narada's really following that instruction. So many people, like all of the famous people that we know, the Narada Muni is the one who gave them the knowledge, right? Like Dhruva, Prahlad, so many. So he really took the instruction of his father.
Yeah. And similarly, we have the instruction from Srila Prabhupada, God, this road. Said every respectable person should have a full set of Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita in his house. Prabhupada has given all of us such a big task, and we have to really take it to heart and distribute Bhagavatams. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Mata.
Yeah, this chapter is, Bhagavatam is, everything is good, but this one is like, Brahmaji gives the instruction to Narada. It's for us, actually, it's very, very nicely explained. And you also explain very well. And now the last thing is in the 53, the last word, 53rd, it says the very first sentence is very important because we have to take the Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam is very seriously and step by step, but not like just you say like jump on the like 10th canto in lots of Bhagavatam Katha. Before I heard that also only 10 canto is there, but the step by step, and we don't have to like follow whatever the people are doing, but we have to go step by step and very seriously. That is the main thing. That is my understanding. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mati. Yeah, that's the point I was saying, that differentiates us from so many groups, that they may say, okay, I heard here, something there, but we are, like Prabhupada has taught us that we are systematically studying the science of Godhead. Ye Krishna Tattva Veti, say Guru.
Yes. Yes.
And Janma Karma Cha Me Divya, Evam Yo Veti Tattva.
Tattvataha.
And once we know in truth Janma Karma of the Lord, then what happens? Janma Karma Cha Me Divyam Evam Yo Veti Takta Deham Punar Janma Naiti.
Janma Naviti.
You don't have to come back again in this material world. So this itself, this act of seriously studying Srimad Bhagavatam is directly worshipping the Lord. This is our sadhana. That's why I was asking. Sorry, I was very direct, but I was actually making this point that we are doing this 3 hours or 2.5 hours. We completely give to Krishna. Try to avoid all distractions.
Yes, forget everything.
Yes.
And yeah, just I would like to say today in Chicago, we have Rath Yatra today.
Okay. Very nice. Okay.
Gee, I like the point that the devotees of the Lord respect their sadhana twice as much as they grow, as they attain prema. And Prabhuji, I listened in Prabhupada's lecture, I've also mentioned that what distinguishes ISKCON from other societies is that when we read Bhagavatam, we realize that we are a servant of the Lord. Other fanatics, but they think that they are the enjoyers.
That's a good point, actually. People they present the stories in a I know even in my village we have this this Bhagavad Saptah, and then after the Saptah you ask someone, how was it? They'll say, bahut maja aaya, bahut maja aaya. They say I enjoyed. That's it. But did it create any transformation in your life? No, that's not even a question that they think about, that this knowledge should create a transformation. It's just I enjoyed it, and that was nice prasadam. That's it.
Yes, not application, applying in life.
So that's the main point, that we are actually studying Bhagavatam to create that transformation, understand our position as servitors of the Lord, and we relish Bhagavatam, but we do it as a service to the Supreme Personality of God.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, can you give us a couple of points on speaking about Bhagavatam to others in such a way that it invokes the bhakti in their heart?
I would say, you can do a whole Bhagavatam presentation, the whole thing is there, but we don't have time for that.
Yes, bro.
I would love to do it, but just to that point of how it evokes bhakti in the heart of everyone. When we go out, we distribute Bhagavatam, we actually say how Bhagavatam is non-different from Krishna himself. Krishna is actually manifested in the form of the Srimad Bhagavatam just to save us from all the suffering that we are going through. Right? We say that verse, Yasya vai Shuramananam, Krishne Param Purushe, Bhakti Utpadati Pumsa, Shoka Moha Bhayapaha. That Krishna is so merciful that he's come in the form of Bhagavatam so that our shoka, our lamentation, our moha, illusion, and our bhaya, fearful condition, will all go away. That itself, saying that itself, is actually creating in their heart some sentiment that Krishna is so kind, he's actually come for me. He's come for me. So we are presenting in such a way to show that Krishna is coming for us again and again, just accept Krishna. And that itself is invoking some sentiment in the heart that yes, Krishna is there, he's come to actually give us his blessings. So that's just one point, but we can speak so much on this point.
Thank you.
Let's take a quick break, like 5 minutes. We'll take a break and we can come back 9:10, and then we'll do another half an hour after that. Okay. Thank you so much. See you in like 5 minutes. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, Hare Krishna everyone. So please come back. Let's continue. So we're going to start the next chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter number 8, questions by Parikshit Maharaj. So, nice point, Divinitana Mataji, about that how Narada, thinking about this point, that he got the knowledge, but he's actually giving the knowledge to Dhruva, the knowledge in such a way that was most acceptable by Dhruva. Then to Prahlad, he gives knowledge in a particular way. So he's taking the same knowledge, but he's actually one way customizing it so that it best suits the devotee who receives it. That's a good point. And also I posted a link on the chat. So this link actually has the entire from starting, we have all the lectures. It's just one playlist. I'm uploading everything there. We have 56 classes on that thing. So okay, so let's start chapter 8, questions by Parikshit Maharaj. Right? So as the chapter is titled, question by Parikshit, the major section of this chapter is a whole list of questions. Right? And this is actually going to be one way, the theme for the rest of this canto and rest of Srimad Bhagavatam in one way. Because Parikshit Maharaj, he asked so many questions, and at the end of the question is so expertly, because we see how Parikshit Maharaj is relishing this so much that he does not want this to end. And he just wants this to go on and on until that Takshaka comes and then he has to leave his body. So he asked so many questions, and at the end he says, okay, whatever asked, please explain. And whatever are not asked, please explain that also. so there's nothing that's left, right? Whatever is asked, and whatever is not asked, he says, answer that also. So in that way, Parikshit, we see his eagerness. So the first few verses, first 6 verses of this chapter is basically Parikshit Maharaj is actually inspiring Sukadeva Goswami to actually speak this knowledge. Right? Speak this knowledge. And then after from section from verse 7 all the way to 23 is a whole list of questions. Right? So we'll just go through a list. So that will be a little fast. We because the answers are not there, it's just a question. So that section will go quite fast. We'll go fast during that section. And then the last part is basically Parikshit Maharaj inspires Sukadeva Goswami to speak, and then he just kind of prepares himself to start speaking, and that's the way this chapter ends. So mainly first 6 verses, and then the questions, and then conclusion of this chapter. So 3 main sections of this chapter. So let's start off with the first 6 verses. I think that's what we'll be able to cover today. But very nice, the verses, especially some verses in this first 6 verses are so beautiful, where Parikshit Maharaj is actually inspiring Sukadeva Goswami and saying, what does this hearing Srimad Bhagavatam actually do for us? Very beautiful verse. Okay, so let's start with text number 1.
Ratuvacha brahmana chodito brahman gunakyane gunasya cha yasmai yata praha narado deva darshanaha.
Okay,
Yeah, we don't need to remember.
King Parikshit inquired from Sukadev Goswami, how did Narada Muni, whose hearers are as fortunate as those instructed by Lord Brahma, explain the transcendental qualities of the Lord, who is without material qualities, and before whom did he speak?
So now it says here, what is Parikshit Maharaj saying? He's saying Brahmana Chodito Brahman, right? So Brahman there is actually referring to Sukadev Goswami. So Sukadev Goswami, after he actually, the previous section was Sukadev Goswami told Parikshit, yes, you have asked me these 4 questions. I will give you the answers by telling the conversation between Brahma and Narada. So he said that. So basically, that's what is this. Brahmana Chodito. After being instructed by Brahma or Sukadev Goswami, Guna Khyane Gunasya cha. Very nice. Guna Khyane means what? Guna Akhyane. Akhyane means to describe the qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he's in that way, Brahma has instructed the qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Agunasya. So it's like one is Guna Khyane, the personality of Godhead with so many guna, and then he's called Aguna. Like it's like contradiction, right? 2 contradictory words. Like we see what oxymoron, right? 2 contradictory words together, right? So aguna that refers to, still it is referring to Krishna, but Krishna who has no material qualities. That is agunasya, right? So all his qualities are transcendental. So gunakhyane refers to narrating the transcendental qualities of the Lord. To specify, to emphasize that point, the word agunasya is actually used to say that no material qualities. Right? Yasmai yata praha. After that, Narad Muni, to whom did he actually speak this knowledge? Right? So we'll have Dhruva, Prachini Bharisat, then Prahlad Maharaj, and again Narad Muni comes all over. Right? 11 cantos, so we have Vasudev, Narad Muni, everywhere there's actually Narad Muni. So to whom did he speak? So that question itself is like a rest of the Srimad Bhagavata. To whom did Narad Muni speak? And then Narada Deva Darshana. Right, that word Deva Darshana is very nice because it says that anyone who's heard these instructions from Narada Muni, and because Narada has received from Brahma has received from Krishna, it is not different from hearing directly from Krishna. And because anything in relationship with Krishna is absolute, so if you're hearing from Krishna, it is non-different from seeing Krishna. So who are those fortunate souls who are directly seeing Krishna by the mercy of Narada? So beautiful, right? Narada Deva Darshana, who is actually seeing Krishna through the words of Narada. Right? Okay. So that's basically here. And then Prabhupada talks about like the importance of the disciplic succession. Krishna gave to Brahma, Brahma gave to Narad, and Narad is actually giving it to other disciples. So all the disciples receiving knowledge from Narada is as good as, right? What does Guru Ashtakam says? Shaksha dharitena samasta shastra. All the shastras, what do they see? Shaksha dharitena samasta shastra yuktasya tava yata ev salve kintu prabhuya priya evatasya vande guru shri charanavinda. That's actually all the shastra says the Guru is what? He's as good as the Supreme Personality of God. And why? Because he is directly speaking what Krishna has given to him. The knowledge of Krishna is directly manifesting through the words of the Guru, and hence the Guru is actually that way non-different, as good as Krishna. Right? So wherever Narada Muni goes and speaks, he is actually representing the Lord himself, because he's directly speaking the message of the Lord through disciplic succession. So when we are actually going door to door and we are speaking, we are just representatives of Srila Prabhupada, right? So in that way, that potency of what we speak is actually coming down through the entire parampara, through Srila Prabhupada, through our words to a conditioned jivas. How powerful. Because we are connected to the entire parampara. When we are presenting Krishna consciousness, we are actually carrying the blessings of the entire parampara. And then also Prabhupada says, what is a test for a bona fide spiritual master? And one can say so many points here, but particularly in relationship to this disciplic succession, the test of a bona fide spiritual master is that he speaks what Krishna has spoken. Bhagavad Gita as it is, not Bhagavad Gita as I think it is. It is Bhagavad Gita as it is. As Krishna has explained to Arjun, same knowledge I am giving to you. So that is a test of a bona fide spiritual master. Okay, next verse, text number 2.
Etadveditumicchami tattvam tattvavidam vara hareradbhutaviryasya katha loka sumangalaha.
Hare Krishna. The king said, I wish to know narrations concerning the Lord, who possesses wonderful potencies, are certainly auspicious for living beings in all planets.
So, etad veditam ichchami. So, it is my desire, ichcha, right? My desire, my wish, etad veditam, to understand this. Understand what? Tattvam, tattva vidam vara. Tattva means what? This the truth, right? The truth about tattva vida. Tattva vida means the absolute truth. So, it is my desire to understand the real truth, the truth about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And who is that? Hare. Hare referring to Hari, Lord Hari, right? Adbhuta Viryasya, another wonderful word. Adbhuta Karma we read before, right? Now it is Adbhuta Viryasya, who does this extraordinary virya or prowess, with extraordinary prowess, or does extraordinary activities. Adbhuta Viryasya Katha Loka Sumangalaha, right? Mangalaha. Mangala means what? Auspicious. So this narration about the tattva of the Supreme Personality of God, Hari, who has this extraordinary potency, is actually beneficial for all the loka. Katha Loka Sumangala. All the people in all the planetary systems will benefit from hearing about Krishna, and hence it is my desire also to understand this science of Krishna. So basically, Parikshit is saying, Sukadeva Goswami, please speak more, please speak more. This is actually going to be Sumangala for all the planets. So you please continue speaking. Right? So Prabhupada actually, he gives a short purport. He basically says how the Srimad Bhagavata is all narration about the activities of the Lord, and it is auspicious for all living beings residing in every planet. Every planet. So why restrict distributing Srimad Bhagavatam just to this planet? We should go to the moon, like India has just sent the spacecraft to the moon. They should take a set of Bhagavatam and give it to the people of moon. Even they will be benefited. So we should actually encourage. It says all the planets, all residents and all planets will get benefit. So next time if you contact with anyone from NASA or Indian space, you can tell them, take one Bhagavatam set when you go. So that would be nice. Okay, and then Prabhupada says, Srimad Bhagavatam is certainly very dear scripture for all devotees of the Lord. Which is this verse? Anyone knows this verse? This is may not be very direct. How Bhagavatam is dear to all the Vaishnavas. This is actually in the 12th canto, 13th chapter, text number 18. So 12, 13, 13, I hope everyone knows. What is 12, 13, 13? It is actually saying the benefits of distributing Bhagavatam on Bhadra Purnima, right? So that's 12, 13, 13. 12, 13, 18 is actually saying Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam Yed Vaishnavanam Priyam. That Bhagavatam which is Pramanam Amalam, which is the highest Pramana, that is very dear to the Vaishnavas. Right? So it's very dear scripture for all the devotees of the Lord, and it is auspicious even for the non-devotees. Why is it auspicious even for non-devotees? Because it explains that even non-devotees, how they can be free from all the shoka, moha, bhayapaha. I just quoted them 177, right? Just by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, what will happen? Shoka, moha, bhaya, paha. right? So all the lamentation, our illusion, our fear will all get vanquished. So it is beneficial both for devotees and non-devotees. So distribute Srimad Bhagavatam everywhere. Okay, text 3.
Tataya sva mahabhaga yataha akilatmani Krishne niveshya nisangam manaschakshe kulevaram.
Hare Krishna. Translation. O greatly fortunate Sukadeva Goswami, please continue narrating Srimad Bhagavatam so that I can place my mind upon the Supreme Soul, Lord Krishna, and being completely freed from material qualities, thus relinquish this body. Hare Krishna.
So what is Parikshit Maharaj's desire? And this is a desire that even we can cultivate in the core of our heart. The Parikshit Maharaj is saying, please continue. Katha Yasva, please continue speaking. Oh, greatly fortunate one, please continue speaking. So that, what can I do? My manaha, my mind, let my mind be absorbed in this Katha of Akhila Atmani, or the Supreme Soul, Krishna, right? And in that way, I can be Nisanga. Nisanga means completely free from material qualities. And then Tvakta, Tvakshes Kalevaram. So when I leave my body, I'll just be absorbed. My mind will be absorbed in glories of the Akhila Atmani Krishna. So please, you continue speaking. And this can be a prayer for all of us. That when we leave our body, oh Krishna, let our mind be completely absorbed in hearing your glorious pastimes, hearing your glorious qualities. Let our mind be completely absorbed. So please, oh Vaishnavas who are around me, who will be around me at the time of leaving, please continue speaking Hari Katha. Please glorify Krishna so that my mind will be absorbed in it. So Parikshit Maharaj is telling Sukadeva Goswami, continue, so that when the Takshaka comes, my mind is still absorbed in Krishna. And Prabhupada says, to be absorbed in hearing about Krishna means to constantly associate with Krishna. So every time we are actually studying Srimad Bhagavatam, we are constantly associating with Krishna, because Bhagavatam is non-different from Krishna. And when we are associating with Krishna, then is there a chance of what happens when we associate with Krishna? Then there's a purification of the anarthas. So when you're studying Srimad Bhagavatam, it is we are directly connecting with Krishna and we are purifying the anarthas in our heart. Right? So Prabhupada makes that point. And Krishna Surya Sama, Maya hai Andhakar. So Lord Krishna is like sun, and material contamination is darkness. So wherever the association of Krishna, there can be no question of darkness. And then Prabhupada quotes this in the middle of the first paragraph. Perfection of life is to be in remembrance of Narayan at the end of one's life. Okay, five bonus points for anyone who can quote this verse.
Ante Narayana Smriti.
Yes, okay. What is the starting? This is first chapter, 2.1.6. Etavan Samkhya Yoga Bhavam. What's the next one? Etavan Sankhya Yoga Bhavam Swadharma Swanistita Janma Labha Parapumsam Ante Narayana Smriti. Right? The highest perfection that a human can attain is he thinks about Narayan at the end of his life. Right? Ante Narayana Smriti. So in that way, Parikshit Maharaj is also thinking that my perfection will be there if I can actually think about Narayan at the end of his life. And Prabhupada says in this, one should continue such hearing till the end of one's life, so that one can actually have the transcendental association of the Lord and thus liberated simply by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Such a nice sentence. One should continue hearing this until the end of one's life. And in that way, we can be associated with Krishna. Then we'll go back home just by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, another point that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is actually making in this, right? That Parikshit Maharaj, he had already given up the attachment to his kingdom, right? When he actually came to the banks of the Yamuna to actually hear from Sukadeva Goswami, he already gave up association with his attachment to the kingdom. but now he's making a conscious effort to give up association with his own body also. So it's actually a very nice point to think about, that when we are, in our final days, or, final period of our life, we have to make conscious effort to give up attachments to the things that we are attached to in this material world, and consciously develop that exclusive attachment to Krishna. So Parikshit Maharaj, he gave up his kingdom, but now he's actually giving up the attachment to his body, so that he'll be exclusively focused on Harikatha. So that is a request from Sukadeva Goswami. You continue speaking, so that even my attachment to the body will not be there, because Takshara will come and bite. But I don't want to think about that. I just want to think about Harikatha. Hence, I want to elevate myself beyond even the attachment to the body. So even for us, we will, if we are successful, we will be going through this journey where we are detaching from everything, even up to a point of detaching from our own body and just being fixed upon Krishna Katha. It's a very powerful one. Okay. Next verse, text 4. This is a very nice verse.
Kalena nati dirghena bhagavan vishate riddhi.
So we already read this, right? Oh, okay. Go ahead. Translation.
Persons who
Go
ahead.
Go ahead, Mataji. It's okay.
Persons who hear Srimad Bhagavatam regularly and are always taking the matter very seriously. Godhead, Sri Krishna, manifest in their hearts within a
So we'll see word to word. This is a verse for memorization also. So that in Bhakti Ratnamala. Srinmata Shraddhaya Nitya. Right? Srinmata, here. How should we hear? With two qualities. Shraddhaya, with devotion, and Nityam. Every day we have to hear. Right? Grinatas cha swateshtitam. Grinata means we have to take the matter. We have to accept it. Right? Even this is there in Queen Kunti's prayers, right? Shrinvanti, Gayanti, Grinanti, Abhikshana. Grinanti, right? Grinanti. One has to accept, right? So we have to take this matter. Cha Swa Cheshtitam. That Swa Cheshtitam is we have to take up the matter seriously, Swa Cheshtitam, by our own endeavor. We have to, on our own, take this matter very seriously. What is that? Shrinvata, to hear with Shraddha and Nitya. Okay? If we do that, then what happens? Kalena, Nati Dirgena. Dirgena means long time. Nati means not a very long time. Kalena, in very short time, what will happen? Bhagavan Vishate Riddhi. Riddhi means heart. The Lord will enter her heart, or the Lord will manifest in the core of our heart. Now, one may say that Paramatma is already there in the heart, right? So, what does it mean the Lord will manifest in the core of our heart? Anyone would like to answer that?
Reveal, Prabhuji.
Okay, reveal, yeah. Okay.
He cleanses our heart.
Okay, cleanses our heart. That's good. Okay, but further, Bhagwan Vishate Riddhi.
We will realize, we will hear from him. We will understand him, right, Prabhuji?
Okay. See, one thing is Paramatma in the heart, he's situated in the heart of every living entity, right? But what is his mood towards the jiva? We already discussed this. He is like a Anumanta Upadrishta, right? He is kind of neutral, he's overseer and permitter. You want to do this? Do this. But when the Lord Krishna manifests in the core of our heart, then it is that connection of love in the heart. Krishna is personally there. So then he's not like Paramatma, who is like an overseer or a permitter. You are directly in love with Krishna. That Krishna, Bhagwan, Swayam is actually you're having that relationship with Krishna. He's like the full opulence of Krishna, not like a Paramatma feature. He's actually manifested in the core of that. So Prabhupada says that that will help one to see Lord Sri Krishna manifested in one's heart within no time. All we have to do is Srimata, Shraddhaya, Nitya. Right? And we have to take this matter very seriously. If we do this, Kalena nati dirgena. It won't take long time when the Lord will actually manifest in the core of our heart. Krishna will personally, Bhagavan personally will manifest, and you'll have rasa, relationship with Krishna in the core of your heart. And all these acharyas we see, they are, there's actually, it's like we'll come to that in third canto. There's this purport where Prabhupada says, like a spiritual television in your heart, because directly you're having rasa with Krishna. So Krishna is revealing, all pastimes are happening in the core of your heart. That is the manifestation of Krishna. Right? Okay. And Prabhupada actually in this purport actually says that, cheap devotees, they want to see the Lord personally without the requisite qualifications. Right? Everyone says, oh, show me God. You worship God? Show me God. But the point is, have you done anything? Have you qualified yourself to see God? And what is the qualification? Study Bhagavatam. Hear about Krishna. That will prepare your consciousness to see Krishna. Then you can see Krishna in the core of your heart. It won't take a long time, but you have to do it seriously. Srinvata, Shraddhaya, Nitya, and then with complete. Grinatas, you have to take this matter very seriously, and you have to give time, you have to give your energy, you have to do it with devotion, and every day you do it, and then the Lord will manifest. Then you will see the Lord face to face, no problem. Right? Okay, next verse.
That's fine. Pravishta karna randrena svanam bhava saroruham dhunoti shamalam Krishna sharirasya yata sharat.
This is also a verse for memorization. Very beautiful verse. Okay, go ahead.
The sound incarnation of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Soul, that is Srimad Bhagavatam, enters into the heart of a self-realized devotee, sits on the lotus flower of his loving relationship, and thus cleanses the dust of material association, such as lust, anger, and hankering. Thus it acts like a autumnal rains upon pools of muddy water.
Okay. So, what they say? Pravishta Karna Randena. Karna means what? A ear, right? So, when this transcendental sound vibration or the sound incarnation of Krishna, see how Prabhupada is explaining, sound incarnation of Krishna, that's Srimad Bhagavatam, when he enters into the whole of our ears, then what happens? Swanam Bhava Saroruham. Saroruham. Saroruham means a lotus flower. So when that sound enters through our ears and enters into the heart, then that sound incarnation of Krishna will sit on the lotus of our heart. And then what is that? Swanam, right? According to one's own relationship with Krishna. Whether that relationship is in Sakhya, in Vatsalya, in Dasya or Madhurya, that lotus is in one of these bhavs, and the Lord will actually sit in the heart, in that relationship with each one of us. That's the point of Krishna entering. It's not just Paramatma, this Krishna in one of these four rasas who's actually entering. So sound incarnation of Krishna is entering into the ears, entering into the heart, in the lotus of our relationship, of our bhav with Krishna, and then Dhunoti Shamalam Krishna. Where is Dhunoti? Where do we hear Dhunoti?
Srinvatam Swakata Krishna. Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridayantastovya Vitrani Vidunoti.
Vidunoti. Right? That also Srimata. By hearing what happens, again, Krishna in the heart, he'll actually do the washing, Dhunoti. So same, Dhunoti Shamalam Krishna. So Dhunoti Shamala means all the impurities. Lust, anger, greed. Krishna himself will do the cleaning of all the lust, anger. He'll take it away when the sound incarnation enters into our heart. And then Shalilasya Yathashara. So this example is given that just like when there's rainfall, when rain falls, then even the muddy water of the rivers, they immediately get purified because it immediately gets filled with fresh rain. So similarly, when the sound incarnation enters into the core of the heart, then our heart is completely purified with no trace of sin remaining, no trace of any of these lust, anger, or greed remaining. Right? So hence this example is actually compared. Maybe next time, I don't have time now, but I'll compare that the purification through the process of Gyan, purification through the process of karma, and purification through the process of bhakti. This comes in the 6th canto. I'll refer to that. But right now, just to accept this point, that the purification through bhakti is actually the complete purification. All other forms of purification are not complete. It's still there are traces of of anarthas remaining. The example is given just like you have a glass of water, right? A transparent glass. Right? Now, one process of purifying the water, it's like dirty water, let's say muddy water, is you add some chemical, and because of the chemical, all the dust settles down at the bottom of the water. Okay, and they do this when you get purification water in your taps. They have a process of sedimentation. All the dust is sitting down at the bottom, and then the water as such, it appears like, okay, it's clean, right? But is the water really clean? Like Mother Karuna has a glass water right there, right? So if there was something, it settles down. It looks as if the top part is all clean, but is it really clean? No. Why? Because any case, you just go and you just agitate it. You just hit the glass, and what happens? All the mud from bottom will arise. So similarly, it is said the purification through Gyan or through yoga is just like that of purification of a glass of water by adding a chemical. It settles down, but as soon as there's some agitation, then again the anarthas arise. But the purification of bhakti is just like rainwater. It will come and all the impure water, everything is just thrown out, completely filled with pure fresh water. No anarthas remaining in the core of our heart. Hence the example, Shalilasya Yatha Sharat. Just like that autumn rain comes and purifies everything. Similarly, the rainwater of the bhakti, of hearing of Krishna Katha, purifies all the anarthas in the core of our heart. Okay, is the example clear? Everyone? Okay. Okay, so maybe I'll come back to this first. Let's just do one more. I'll speak more about this verse, but I want to cover text 6 also because all related. Actually, 4, 5, 6 are actually one way in the sequence. Like how in Bhagavatam 1.2, 16, 17, 18, all in sequence. So similarly here, they are in sequence. Okay, so let's just do text 6 and then we'll stop.
Bhotatma Purusha Krishna Padamulam Namuchati Mukta Sarva Pariklesha Pantasva Sharamandita.
Go ahead, anyone can read.
Hare Krishna, a pure devotee of the Lord, whose heart has once been cleansed by the process of devotional service, never relinquishes the lotus feet of the Lord Krishna, for they fully satisfy him, as a traveler is satisfied at home after a troubled journey. Hare Krishna.
So it is continuing that once that Krishna Shalilam, right, Nunoti Krishna Shalilam happen, all the impurities are removed from the heart, then what does that person do? Dhauta Atma. Dhauta Atma means one whose heart is purified, then Krishna Padamulam na muchanti. He will never leave the lotus feet of Krishna. Your heart is purified, you will always hold on to the lotus feet of Krishna, even in the most difficult situation. Whose example can we think of right now? Even in the most difficult situation, never left the lotus feet of Krishna.
Prahlad Maharaj.
Prahlad Maharaj, very nice. Prahlad Maharaj, right? Even all the challenges, did he ever say, oh, Krishna, it's not working. Krishna is not giving protection. Let me try someone else. No. 100% Krishna. So that's it. So just like Prahlad Maharaj, Dhauta Atma, heart was cleansed. Hence he never gave up the shelter, Padamulam, the shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna. And the example is given, Pariklesha Pantha Swasaranam. So let's say a traveler, he goes all around, he collects riches. Sorry. He collects riches, right? He collects a lot of treasure. And then like while traveling, there's so many troubles he has to go through one place after another. And then now he's collected a lot of rich. And then finally he comes home. Once he comes home, he has all the wealth. Does he need to travel again? No need. I have everything at home. Now I am peaceful and happy at home. Just like a traveler when he comes home and says, oh, finally back home. After all the travel, I'm back home. Similarly, a devotee whose heart is purified, then he will, when he gets the lotus feet of Krishna, he said, that's it. I have reached back home, back to Godhead. Now I will not go back anywhere else. That's it. No muchanti. I will never leave the lotus feet of Krishna. Right? So that is this. Okay. So maybe this purport of 5 and 6, we'll come back to it again, maybe next class. But please keep up your reading. We have read like 2 verses today, again stressing the importance of Srimata, Shraddhaya, Nityam. 2 verses had all the 3 words. Hearing every day with devotion and every day, right? Nityam. So please continue your reading of Srimad Bhagavatam, up to at least 2.8.6. Please complete the reading, catch up if you're missing anything, but come up to 2.8.6 and be in touch with, in line with what we are covering in our classes. And yeah, so that's that. And then also this coming Saturday or Wednesday, we will have the exam for those who are registered on chapter 4, 5, 6, right? Closed book exam. So please prepare yourself. Either you can take Wednesday 7 p.m. or Saturday 8 a.m. Okay. And also for, as we are coming to the end of the second canto, like the questions will go fast. So next time I'm sure we'll complete this chapter and we may also start the next one. Then it's just like 1.5 chapters left, for the second canto. So it's amazing. We'll come to the end of the second canto. So try to learn 10 verses, at least 10 verses from second canto. And you can use the Bhagavad Ratnamala. And also today we read the verses Srimata, Shraddha, or Pravishta Karna Rendhena. Those 2 are verses of memorizing. And even the first chapter has many verses, from this that are very wonderful. So, okay. Okay, so stop here. Kanta Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Kripa Sindhu Vevacha, Patna Pavana Vaishnava. Thank you all so much for joining. So anyone would like to share any realizations from today's class or the last section? Quick point and drop out.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Still I tried, but I don't have the Bhagavad Ratnamala Slokam, the books, the small book. I went to India and asked in Ujjain temple, Ahmedabad temple. They don't have.
Books are out of print now, Mati. That's why there's not there. But
I tried online also, but it's not. It's not working.
So Ratna Radhika will post on the group maybe 10 verses with the number and the recording. So you can just learn those. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Oh, I have a PDF of Ratnamala I can share.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Can you share? You can put it on the group also, maybe.
Sure.
Thank you, Mataji.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else?
I was just wanting to share this, that, when Parikshit Maharaj is speaking this beautiful verses, so that means he has realized it. He's not speaking without realizing it. Okay. He's saying, this verse that, in quickly, within no very prolonged time, the Lord would manifest in his heart. So right now, he is with Krishna.
We have read previously the quality is like he's a pure devotee of Krishna.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Very nice point. Okay. Vijay Radhika Mati. Go ahead, Vijay Radhika Mati.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I really liked text 3 where it says one should continue hearing till the end of one's life, so that one may have the transcendental association of the Lord and thus be liberated simply by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. And this is so powerful. And also Anandamai Mataji's post in this one also was it's really very practical, because we all are very careless. We have to be very careful and concentrating while doing japa and also while hearing Srimad Bhagavatam.
Very good. Thanks, Mati. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the story, if anyone has not read it, was posted on WhatsApp group, and also on dhanvats.com you can find the story of this Mataji. Very inspiring. So many points to learn from her. Yeah, that experience. Thank you. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. What Mataji said is correct. And after that, when you read Srimad Bhagavatam and progress in spiritual life, you can see Krishna directly in our heart, like spiritual television. A very beautiful point. Looking forward.
It's just our aspiration that someday, right? But this is like these aspirations keep us enthusiastic on our path of bhakti. So we have to think about these aspirations and meditate on this, like someday Krishna, someday, and then that will give us seriousness in our bhakti. Thank you. Very nice.
I just want to add one point that yes, we should read very seriously and regularly and aspire for that, but ultimately we should pray because nothing happens without Krishna's mercy.
So along with our reading, we actually pray to Krishna that please, we can dive deep into the nectar of the Bhagavatam. Very nice. That's the prayers. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you all so much for joining. Hare Krishna. And sorry, I was a little strong on the point of turning on your video cameras because, like, you're giving Bhagavatam is like 3 hours for the entire week. Where we just like come and we discuss Katha. So just mark your, make your Sundays so that this 7 to 10 is just available for this. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, all devotees.
Hare Krishna Dandavanam to all devotees. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Babaji.
Yes.
Welcome, Karuna Mataji. Good to have your association. Hare Krishna.